Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm William.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything tabletop role-playing games.
Today we are covering the D&D 5.5 Warlock, Rogue, and Druid reveals.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, adventurers, to the Dungeoncast.
Hey, Brian.
Hey Will,
How you doing?
I'm just getting into this. Oh, it's tight.
Just squeezing right
Squeezing in.
Yeah, so we got 5 more classes to go over.
Sick.
Wizards of the Coast went ahead and revealed, not last week, but the week before, the new Rogue, the new Ranger, the new Wizard, the new Druid, and the new Warlock.
Okay.
And all their attached subclasses.
Fantastic.
Are there any of these that you're more or less excited to get into?
Warlock.
More or less?
More.
More, yeah. Warlock's your favorite class?
It's up there for sure.
Yeah, it's up there for me. I think it's top like 3 or 4 for me.
Yeah.
It's like tied with the Wizard. But.
Yeah. Warlock is a lot of fun.
Okay, well, we'll be getting to that one in a second. We're starting off with the Rogue.
I like the Rogue too. The Rogue is up
Rogue is, we're going to get into this. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying
I'm already into it, Will. My circulation is at risk.
I'm not
parts of my body.
I'm not actively trying to upset anybody, but I'm not a fan of rogues. I like rogues. I like them on the team. I never, ever, 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 ever want to play them. I can never think of a good character that I really want to stick my teeth into when it comes to rogues. And it was actually preparing this episode where I really came to terms with why that is.
Okay.
And it's the thing that rogues...
Looking deep within on the Dungeoncast.
Well, I can't scratch my head. It's like, why don't I like rogues? Everyone else seems to.
Yeah.
I do like paladins. Everyone else seems to like paladins as well. So it's not of I like to go against the grain or anything like that. But I was thinking about it, and it was going over a lot of these properties that they focused on when it came to retooling the rogue that made me realize what it is. It's that the things that the rogue excels at, the things that like people love being the rogue about, are things that I don't get that ooh cool factor from. The sneaking up from behind and getting the sneak attack, the being the expert at poison or attacking from the shadows. That's all super cool, and I understand that for a lot of people that's a cool thing, but it just does nothing for me. I'm just like, cool, you did a cheap shot.
I mean, like, what about disarming traps or like?
That's cool, but there's other classes that are also good at that. But that, I guess that's cool, but that's also not like, hell yeah, I did this. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I do. I'm like, fuck yeah, no one's taking damage today.
No,
fuck
and yeah,
you,
and that's
Master.
absolutely valid. Absolutely. I mean, it's invaluable in Dungeons and Dragons. That's
yeah,
the thing
I was gonna say this is one of the core tenets of the game.
It is absolutely it is, and I don't know why I never want to touch the rogue or be a rogue or anything like that, but now I do.
This is like people that really enjoy pizza but not the crust.
Yeah,
and the rogue is the crust for you.
The rogue is the crust.
I know it's not a one-to-one metaphor for you specifically.
Yeah, I do like the crust.
Bread is good.
Bread is good.
Bread is good.
But yeah, no, I like having a rogue on the party. They're super valuable. There's lots of objectively useful things about them. But yeah, they just don't do it for me. But now I know why. But this is not what people come here for. They want us to talk about this rogue and what's different about it.
Okay. I wanted to say we're using your passive skills for pissing people off today and not your active skills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Some people are here for what we just talked about.
That's true. There are some people, the true fans. So anyways, let's get into the rogue.
I told you I'm already into it. I'm already there.
Well, I'm talking about the general.
I don't know how much room
and the audience.
I don't know how much room there is left in here, but get in.
So the rogue from the upcoming Player's Handbook has been retooled to a degree not as drastic as, say, certain subclasses of the fighter or barbarian, but to a fair degree. And starting from the bottom, the first thing that the rogue gets is weapon mastery. Okay. Which we've talked about extensively in our previous 5.5 episode. All the martial classes are getting this. This is like a special. These are special properties that are attached to particular weapons, not weapon types or weapon groups, but particular weapons. And getting the weapon mastery feat allows you to unlock a certain number of these properties.
Right.
I got a little bit more details, and it looks like every class that is not the fighter that gets weapon mastery can get weapon mastery on 2 different weapon types.
Ooh, okay.
The fighter gets 3. And then the fighter, as we discussed in the fighter version of this episode gets the 3 extra properties they can attach to any weapon they want.
Right, they just start piling stuff on.
They kind of get 6 by the end. But anyways, so the rogue gets 2 weapon masteries. And I believe those have to be attached to things that the rogue's proficient in. Not clear, but we're talking about, daggers, I think all simple martial weapons. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Rapier, short sword, short bow, et cetera, et cetera.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Crossbow stuff?
I think, there's crossbow stuff too.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't play rogues. But anyways. Next up, Thieves' Cant got a little bit of a buff. So for those of you who maybe don't remember, Thieves' Cant gave the rogue the ability to speak and pick up on signs of criminal slang or hidden speech and coding. It still does that, but it also gives the character an additional language on top of everything else. So just a little extra something.
So even though Thieves' Cant is its own language, you get another language?
Indeed. And standard. Yeah.
I love them in the boardroom. You know what this game needs? More language proficiencies for everyone.
Dude, speaking of language proficiency, so I've been playing Castles and Crusades lately, and literally every single character that we built in our first session has anywhere between 6 to 13 languages. So I thought 5e gave a lot of languages out. Apparently it is but a shadow compared to other systems.
I would love to talk to somebody that knows more about the whys and the usefulness of it in gameplay than we do, because at a surface level, it can be fun in session to plan, I'm going to say this shit in Elvish and only this person's going to fucking hear it and that'll be chill.
Right.
That stuff's cool. But
yeah, that's always fun.
It's all narrative for me. I don't know if there's any anything beyond.
I think it's supposed to be mostly narrative, I would imagine.
Yeah, okay.
The next feature that the rogue gets is one that was always an option since Tasha's, but was not part of the original Player's Handbook, and that is a feature called Steady Aim. So this feature makes it so that as a bonus action, you could give yourself advantage on your next attack roll on your current turn. You can use this bonus action only if you haven't moved during this turn, and after you use the bonus action, your speed is 0 until the end of your current turn.
Okay.
So just a way to reliably get advantage when you need it, but it does cost a bonus action, which rogues use. So it is a little bit of a sacrifice.
Right, but you're planting your feet, and you're gonna do a good attack.
Indeed, yes.
Earthbending style.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And next up is the first new feature that the base rogue is going to get. This is a feature you get at level 5. It's called Cunning Strike, and this is a feature that adds some utility to the sneak attack feature. Okay. So this feature allows you to trade sneak attack damage in lieu of other effects. So you can do less damage, but you'll still do some damage. But
right, you'll do your regular weapon damage like you would on any attack, but now you can do one of these things I see that are listed here.
Well, the way they made it sound too is it won't take away all of your sneak attack damage.
Oh.
You'll still get some sneak attack damage in.
Oh, maybe you trade a 1 die of your sneak attack
I think it's
damage.
something like that. They didn't iterate on it any further, but they did iterate on what some of these effects are. So they listed 4. One is you can poison the target. Another is you could trip the target. You can withdraw from melee without provoking opportunity attack without having to take the disengage action or bonus action in the case of a rogue. And at higher levels, you gain even more options. They didn't say which ones, but that these options stack with other options. You can trade out multiple sneak attack dice to do multiples of these.
Okay.
So lots of utility there. Lots of versatility there.
Yeah, highly versatile. The withdrawing from melee without provoking opportunity on an attack roll as just a bonus of your attack roll is pretty good for a rogue.
Yeah, I would say so. And the trip and the poison, I'm not sure if there's a saving throw that comes along with it. There probably is, but we'll find out.
Yeah, before they did some of the new things that they're doing with movement on the board, rogue was the best mover.
Without a doubt. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Outside of casters being able to Misty Step was the only other thing.
Yeah, anybody that could Misty Step.
Yeah,
some ratio. But that's a one. Usually, a caster Misty Stepping, you can abuse that a little bit with slots. But there's some racial abilities that let you do that, right?
Yes.
And one time in the combat, you were like, okay, I'm going to do something sick.
Yeah,
and a rogue with a Shatterkai rogue with Misty Step was doing a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're definitely trying to promote movement, as we've discussed with a lot of this. just like you get a free amount of movement without provoking an opportunity attack under these circumstances kind of stuff. So next up is just some like shuffling of features, a couple shuffles. So reliable talent, which was the feature that allows you whenever you make an ability check that lets you add your proficiency bonus, you can treat a D20 roll of 9 or lower as if it was a 10. So basically like you'll only ever fail at something that's actually legitimately challenging to do. You can never fail at something easy.
Right. Unless you nat 1 and that's how you're playing at the table or whatever.
Yes, exactly that. But now they're making that so it's coming sooner.
Okay.
I believe that was a level 15 feature. So I'm not sure how much sooner, but according to them, it is. Yeah, let me see here. No, it was level 11. So now it's coming sooner. I would wager probably level 7 because that's the next
big milestone level.
Early. That's the next
10.
early. Exactly that.
Yeah. You just gave me. Sorry for the tangent, but you just gave me a 1990s flashback when I put in a VHS, Disney VHS, coming soon.
Yes,
can you see it? Can you hear the little sound bit in your head?
Absolutely, I can.
It was a strange graphic.
I guess it was. It was like the weird purplish bluish one. That one.
Yeah, it looked like a stock PowerPoint graphic.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it was the '90s. Everything was a stock PowerPoint graphic.
That's when they invented PowerPoint.
Indeed,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, that's all the rage.
The next feature is Slippery Mind, which you get at the same level 15, but instead of it just giving you a proficiency wisdom or charisma saves, it also gives you proficiency. Sorry. Instead of it just giving you proficiency in wisdom saves, it's also giving you proficiency in charisma saves.
Okay.
And I think they highlighted this one as important because there are certain like domination effects that
are charisma saving
throws.
Yeah.
And they wanted the rogue to be able to avoid those.
Yeah.
More proficiently.
Using their force of will. Yum.
Indeed. So that is all the little changes and tweaks for the base rogue. Moving on, we have the assassin, the arcane trickster, the soul knife, and the thief as the 4 subclasses that are getting into the new player's handbook. And let's start with the assassin because it is probably the most redesigned, which isn't surprising because it was by far the worst of the 4, unfortunately.
I agree.
Let's see your opinion on whether you think they quote unquote fixed it or not.
Okay.
So the first thing is that the Assassinate feature has been redesigned. To go over the original Assassinate feature, at 3rd level, you are the deadliest when you get the drop on your enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. So they basically revamped this whole thing because they're trying to avoid you basically losing features after round 1.
Right.
And or the surprise round that may or may not have ever happened. So, I mean, like surprise rounds aren't necessarily that common depending on your guys' play style.
Isn't rules as written regular 5e not, it doesn't include a surprise rounds?
No, surprise rounds exist. It's just the way it works is the surprised group basically doesn't get a turn.
Okay.
And everyone who's in on the surprise gets the turn.
Yeah.
And then we start combat normally after that.
Okay.
So it's possible if a surprised enemy also rolls bad on initiative and
they're down 2 turns.
But now they're changing surprise rules also. I don't know if we talked about this last time we spoke on 5.5, but now surprise rounds don't exist in the same way. Now a surprise creature just has disadvantage on initiative rolls.
Okay.
So that's part of why they've changed this. But what they've changed it to is that now the Assassinate feature grants the assassin advantage on initiative rolls at all times. And then extra damage versus any target that has not acted yet. I believe that's per round, not just in the first round.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's like you have advantage on initiative rolls, and it really pays well to roll high because you can get your extra damage every round. If you're going before most of the things.
Yeah, so you can get the damage, you can like make the buffs to your initiative rolls matter more, like with the alert feature and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. Assuming that's still around, I'm sure it'll be in some degree.
So Assassin's Tools, the feature, not only grants you proficiencies with the actual tools like the disguise kit. It was a disguise kit and
Thieves' tools.
I think you already got that as a rogue.
Like a poison kit?
Yes, it was disguise kit and poisoner's kit. Now, not only do you get proficiency, but the class will now actively give you those tools. You get proficiency and you gain the tools themselves. You don't have to go buy them.
Nice.
Which is, I guess that's a nice cover.
Well, I mean, like, why are we fucking beating around the bush about it? You know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So next up, infiltration expertise now also allows you to use steady aim even when making a movement that turn. So assassins are better at steady aim than any other rogue because they can also move.
Got it.
Which makes sense because, you think of an assassin crawling into a dark window at night, seeing their target, steady aiming and like slowly moving forward and then getting them.
Yeah.
And then finally at level 13, we get an actual new feature instead of just revamps. This is called Envenom Weapons. So this replaces the imposter feature, which I think we can all agree was a really weird and bad feature that it took like days to like get someone's like mannerisms all perfect and stuff. Like it was cool for the role play, but honestly, I don't think it had its place as a subclass feature.
It was basically like a written version of do a montage.
Right. Yeah. Basically.
Do a rogue training montage session.
That's so true.
And then like, okay, days have passed. Everyone is
your subclass feature has now worked.
Yeah. Everyone pooped. We're all ready to go.
So now, again, this replaces imposter feature. You have envenom weapons, and now you can deal extra damage and ignore poison resistance. Hey. When using the poison option of Cunning Strike.
Special poisons, weren't we talking about that pre-release?
Talking about special poisons, yes.
Yeah, special poisons are
a little bit different from this because mine was like just having like a magic poison versus a regular poison, but this is same result.
Yeah, this one's like
poison's super good.
I didn't just grab something from under the sink.
Yeah, I will say it doesn't override immunities though, so everything that it was immune to poison is still immune to envenom weapons.
I wonder what will be immune to poisons in like the monster dragons.
Yeah, actually, I don't think dragons are immune to poison. I think that's like one of the famous ways to kill a dragon.
Is to poison it?
I believe so. Yeah.
I know.
Celestials and fiends, those are your classic like can't be poisoned. Also constructs, right?
Yeah, they don't have blood.
Yeah.
They don't have systems like that in their bodies.
Yeah, they're spiritual and or material creatures.
They don't have biceps. It's just magic. Dragons have biceps. It's been made very clear to me.
Definitely have biceps. Yeah. As I said.
But angels, yes, I still don't care. And angels and devils and demons and stuff.
Well, they do also have biceps.
No,
but they're not,
it's just magic.
Real big.
They look like biceps.
They look like biceps.
Yeah, but it's just magic. Because it's
true.
Yeah.
Spiritual energy.
Yeah, it just makes, I don't know. I don't know why they look like that.
I'm with you. All right, lastly, Death Strike no longer relies on surprise because, again, surprise doesn't even work in 5.5 anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a different thing now. Now you just have sneak attack. Now you just have to sneak attack someone in the first round of combat. That's much more attainable. And real quick, let's go over the Death Strike feature. So it's level 17. So when you attack a creature, they must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, double the damage of your attack. So you get this once per combat, essentially at the beginning, first round of a combat, get your sneak attack in, and you have a chance to do double damage.
That's fucking cool.
It's pretty cool.
Was that a carryover?
Yeah. They changed it from instead of it having to be a surprise round, which again, how shitty is that? It's like you finally get to your capstone feature, you're just waiting for the next surprise round and it doesn't come.
Yeah, I mean, or
it does and you flub and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, if you're trying to be the rogue to make the surprise round happen, like it probably happens more often when the players are trying to make it happen. Yeah. And the DM knows that that's a feature that needs to be worked in.
Right, exactly.
Like, okay, guys, here's how combat works every fucking time. I'm going to sneak in.
Right.
And I'm going to stab someone in the fucking neck, dude.
I'm going to death strike somebody.
Yeah. Yes. And then but then you get into a rut, This kind of breaks out of that.
Yeah. I think better design.
I think so.
They saw some bad design and they're like, we got to change this. And they did.
Yeah.
So that's the assassin. How do you feel about this before we move on?
Better.
But
not all the way better.
Agreed.
I just
100% with you.
It
is better. It is unequivocally better.
Yes. There's a lot of baggage that like this class carries, and it pigeonholes you into doing things a certain way, just like we kind of just said.
Yeah, and how much of that is like this is what you signed up for kind of deal? Like you wanted to be the assassin rogue.
Then be an assassin rogue. And I get that. I think my hangups are with like the way it was done before was kind of cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It seems like you're getting away from that. I would like to see how I could play this class and how creative I can be versus like I never even tried the assassin before because on paper I was like, no, these ones are cooler.
Yeah, and you were right. You were like objectively correct about that because it was very bad before.
And I mean cooler mechanically. I mean like being an assassin sounds awesome.
Yes.
And even though it's weird to have homies,
assassins can have homies.
There's
Assassin's Guilds.
Yeah, Django Fett.
Yeah, there we go.
He's got homies.
He's got homies for sure.
They're bad though.
They're all bad.
They're all really not good homies. Well, that's what this would be, right? Like,
sure.
You'd have homies,
and
you can speak thieves' cant to them and kill people.
I mean, there's a lot of killing people in this game. Let's be
That's
real.
true. This one specifically, though, is killing not just people, but people that like other people want dead.
That's true. They're killing contractually. They're killing.
Yeah, or like maybe you are like a multi-class assassin paladin. Sounds cool.
Oh yeah.
Smite.
That'd be like the 4th edition Avenger.
Smite assassinations sound fucking sick. Actually,
it does sound pretty cool.
I planted my feet from the ceiling and stabbed you in your fucking armpit.
That's how we get Brian to play a paladin. We just mix it with a rogue.
We just have to multi-class it.
There we go.
Paladin's a great multi-class.
It is.
I don't know why I didn't think
Famously.
of paladin assassin multi-class before. That sounds pretty good.
It is pretty good from my understanding. I think there are a couple hangups to it, but
yeah, I just think like
flavor-wise it's great. And then again, it basically there is an entire class in 4th edition that is exactly that, called the Avenger.
Yeah, I'll just like fall from the ceiling. Justice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the Avenger.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, moving on. Next up, we have the Arcane Trickster, which had some important changes, but also a very, very few amount of changes to it. The big change is the first one. So originally, when you went the Arcane Trickster route, you were limited in the school of magic that your spells could come from. Illusion and enchantment only. And unlike the Eldritch Knight, where it was like a 3-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio, where you had to pick 2 from these specific ones and then you got 1 freebie. But the Arcane Trickster, you didn't get any spells from any other schools. You had to go enchantment and illusion, which for me, enchantment and illusion are low-key on the lower end of my favorite schools of magic.
Same, yeah.
So the Arcane Trickster never really appealed to me that much. That being said, the enchantment and illusion spell schools match up with the Arcane Trickster's like tool set the best, right? Like the rogue is going to get a lot of mileage out of those compared to maybe the other schools of magic.
Yes, I agree.
But I love this lifting the restriction because I feel like there's so much more versatility and I can be more creative now with it.
Yeah, like what if I need to explode something?
Yeah,
that's fair.
Like, I always find I'm trying to make different versions of the same quote unquote type of character in D&D, and that is like the Spellblade, someone who mixes magic and combat. And by opening up this school of magic restriction, I now have another avenue I can explore of like, okay, well, what can I do with the Arcane Trickster to try and chase this fantasy?
True. Okay.
Next up is Versatile Trickster now allows the player, when they use the trip option of the Cunning Action, which is that new thing that rogues can do, they could trip someone else simultaneously with their mage hand, and that's hilarious.
That is pretty quick. That's my favorite part of Arcane Trickster is the boon you get with the extra mage hand stuff.
Yeah. So that one's cool, and powerful, I think, to a certain degree, depending on how the trip mechanic actually works. We haven't actually seen it, or at least I haven't, but on paper that sounds nice.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the Soul Knife. The Soul Knife has the same thing going on that pretty much all of the Tasha subclasses have.
Yay.
Which is that they left them alone for the most part. But there's a couple things here. So it's mostly the Tasha's version. But you can now use your Psychic Blades on opportunity attacks. I guess you couldn't do that before. Again, I've never played a Soul Knife, so I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm that was correct.
Yeah, and like if I was a DM, I would have definitely eroded that at my table. But now it's official. And lastly, Psychic Blades get a mastery property because they are not a normal weapon type. They don't have like a written in property in the player's handbook, but it comes in the subclass, so they get the Vex property, which grants an attacker advantage on the next attack against the target, which, again, a rogue that is properly spec'd out can take advantage of this by setting themselves up for more advantage.
Yeah, we might have mentioned this on the last recap of new player's handbook stuff that's coming out. I feel like Wizards was cowardly by calling them properties and not just embracing a tag system. This is just tags from other systems, from like Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's a little bit different though, because these properties are like tags usually have like a passive thing going on, while these have an active thing that you choose to enact or not enact on. But I do see what you're saying for sure.
I mean,
and tags and keywords are very useful.
The heart of this rule is that it's tags.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's it for the Soul Knife. I haven't really played with a Soul Knife or had a Soul Knife at my table, but my understanding is that it's a very strong, solidly built subclass. So.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it for I think the one we built was like a cyberpunk style one with like guns and shit. I think that's fucking cool.
That is cool. That is super cool. Next up, we have the Thief, which is another one that was from the base 2014 Player's Handbook. And this one got like a moderate amount of changes. Not as much as the Assassin, but more than the Soul Knife. So first off is now fast hands can activate a magic item as a bonus action instead of as an action.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Okay.
So I'm trying to remember what fast hands says. Fast hands originally, you can use the bonus action granted by your cunning action to make a sleight of hand check to use your thieves' tools to disarm a trap or open a lock, or take the use an object action.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to see how is that an upgrade? What am I missing here? Because it seems like you could have done that in the first place.
Some magic this is for magic items, right? And like some of that requires full actions, so maybe you're able to bypass that.
Yeah, but it almost reads to me like you could have done that in the first place, but maybe that wasn't clear, because it says that you can use your bonus action granted by your cunning action to do all these other things, but also use an object action. And so to me, that would cover use your magic item
I think the stipulation is that on the magic item it would read use your action to activate this thing.
I guess that's true.
So
okay.
maybe
so now we bypass that.
Yeah, and I could
sick.
see how that interpretation could be like, okay, one covers the other instead of vice versa.
That's how I see it. But
I'm just assuming this. I don't know for sure, but that's how it reads to me.
Okay.
Like, okay.
I think you're right. I think that's right. If anything, at worst case scenario, it's just a clarification of language. Best case scenario, they're like, oh, we didn't see this as an issue, and let's clear it up now.
Yes, and which is good because we're having this conversation because it's inherently confusing.
Right, absolutely.
So
but that being said, you being able to do magic item actions as a bonus action, that's pretty fucking sweet.
Oh yeah, I like this.
It's really good. So next up, second story work allows the rogue to use dexterity when determining jump distance. It also gives a climb speed. I think those are pretty good upgrades for second story work, because not a lot of rogues I ever saw bothered to put anything into strength, so their athletics was always ass. But the rogue should be able to jump around.
Yeah, because your dex should cover like what you lack in strength, I guess. So you use acrobatics to climb shit instead of strength. But I think you need to be strong somewhat. Just different kinds of strength, maybe.
Yeah,
you gotta be strong in your hands.
So I think there are some cases where, like, because I think a lot of times DMs will hand wave, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but they'll hand wave. You're making people use athletics and someone argues for acrobatics, and you're just like, sure, fine. But I actually think you shouldn't give on that. And I think that this feature agrees with me, because if someone specifically has a feature that allows them to swap it, you shouldn't just let everyone else swap it, because that completely undermines this feature.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
I like that that reasoning.
Yeah, you got a thief in the group. How much would it suck if the DM's just letting everyone do it? Like,
yes,
this is my whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm letting him do it because he's a thief.
Yeah,
whatever.
they have a feature that lets them do it. Yeah. So next up is Supreme Sneak, and now gives an extra cunning strike option. This allows you to attack while hidden and stay hidden, which is pretty cool. I'm actually surprised that it's not one the assassin has. That sounds assassiny to me, right? Like, strike from the shadows, stay in the shadows. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I do like that. I mostly agree with you. I think the assassin's like the idea, even though this doesn't make sense either, but the idea is to get a ton of damage, and like now you're out in the open. I don't know, like, because in real life you would just like assassinate somebody and they'd be fucking dead,
right?
And you don't have to stay hidden.
That's true.
But it would be cool to like assassinate someone from in a room full of people.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's multiple targets, right? And you're poison dart. Like, where the fuck's that come from?
Yes.
Poison dart. We can't see them. Poison dart. They're
Right.
in the room.
Yeah, you send a robot to insert a big centipede monster into Queen Amidala's room to go bite her.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, where is she?
Is that Attack of the Clones? That's Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, that's a bad movie.
Better than Phantom Menace, and Phantom Menace was horrible.
Oh, I love the Phantom Menace.
I tried to rewatch the Phantom Menace 6 times, and I can't get through the first half of the movie.
Is it because he's a Jar Jar Binks?
It's part of it. It's a big part of it. I'm not gonna lie. It's a very large part of it.
There's been actually some deep reads on like why it's a good character, but anyway,
I disagree, but I respect the opinion.
I am so fucking neutral about Jar Jar Binks. I just think it's sort of funny and sort of dumb.
It's just to me, it's just sort of dumb and sort of like just out of place. It feels out of place, which is it's not that Star Wars ever lacked humor. Star Wars had lots of humor. Yoda's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And there's other the Han Solo one-liners are also very funny, but Jar Jar Binks was just a step too far.
That's my first Star Wars movie. I'm okay with it, and then everybody being annoyed at him in verse is really funny to me.
Yeah, and they would be. But anyways,
Qui-Gon Jinn's just like, oh fuck, Jesus Christ! Now this, like, that's just Qui-Gon Jinn the whole movie. He's like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're right.
I want to retire so bad.
All right, let's get back to the thief. So last up, you have used magic device now allows the thief to attune to 4 magic items. Also gives a chance of using a magic item that uses charges for an effect, not using charges. So both very good things.
Was this originally stacked to use a lot of magic items?
A little bit.
Because you're stealing them from people
or
what?
So this goes back to like old like rogue stuff, thief stuff, where the thief specifically was good at like stealing all these magic items and then tinkering with them and figuring out how to use them, maybe in suboptimal ways compared to the wizard who would be able to properly use them, but like having an edge over everyone besides the wizard on using magic scrolls and magic items, because they are the ones who handle these objects the most as they're stealing them. That was kind of part of the shtick.
Another cool paladin multi-class with the thief rogue would be like, my key thing is to break into museums and like try to get these stolen artifacts back to their original countries.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
And in the meantime, though, I'm going to use them to live.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah. I like that. That's cool.
Nobody knows where this magic scroll came from, so it's mine now.
So to answer your question about the original thief from Player's Handbook 2014, the use magic device feature level 13, you have learned enough about the workings of magic that you can improvise the use of items even when they are not intended for you, ignoring all class, race, and level requirements on the use of magic items.
Okay.
So that was part of the 2014 one. I think it's still part of the new version, but with some added on stuff.
Does this make you want to break away from a halfling rogue? The thief was the classic halfling rogue, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Does it make me want to break away from the halfling? I like halfling rogues, actually.
I mean, yeah. That's what I'm asking, though. Like, yes, I like them too.
I guess the answer is no. It doesn't make me want to not...
I want to be a halfling.
Yeah, I want to be a halfling and do
I want to move
shit
through people's space and steal all their fucking pocket change.
Absolutely. Agreed.
All right.
So
they did not succeed if that was the goal.
I don't think it was, but
probably not.
But
they're trying to have their cake and eat it too by keeping the classic core tenets of the game together while also like giving people the option to break free from all that.
Yeah. And I also think it's a good version of have your cake and eat it too. This is where we would want that, right?
Everybody wants that all the time. Yeah. But yes, I do want my cake.
Usually when Wizards is having their cake and wanting their cake and eating it too, it's in a way that fucks us up, the players.
Yeah.
But this is I think a good thing, right?
I think
like
so.
We're keeping a lot of core tenets, but hey, if you want to break away, we also have all these juicy options for you.
They're doing a good job at like, we have the OG thing that you all know and love.
Right.
And then like, okay, yeah. I didn't realize that having your cake was I was like, you already have it. Why wouldn't you eat it? But you want it to be there as the centerpiece and look at it. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And if you eat it, it's gone.
Exactly. If you eat it, you no longer have it.
Right. And 2 cakes, that's not the thing. That's not the analogy here.
Well, I mean, in a way, it kind of is, because that's how you have your cake and eat it too, right?
Is you just get 2 cakes. You order 2 cakes.
You be a spoiled brat.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You break the rules.
Yeah. So that cake's going to melt in the sun.
Yeah.
This cake we're going to eat.
It's a waste, and you're a bad person. Sorry. Are you ready for the Warlock?
I just never realized like that's what that meant.
No, totally.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it means. That's exactly what it means. All right, let's get to
I'm
the
ready
Warlock.
for the Warlock.
Let's do it. Warlock, Brian's favorite class.
Someone who has a cake and that was given to them, and they're simultaneously firing cannons out of it while eating it and having it.
Absolutely. The worst person on earth. That's what you just described.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the Warlock, which, as we've discussed, is possibly your favorite class.
It's up there. I don't know what my favorite class is. But
okay, what's your least favorite class? It's Paladin, right?
Well, it's hard to say that it's my least favorite. On paper, it's my least favorite class,
Okay.
but to say that it's my favorite class without ever having played it is a tough ask of me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
like how can I say...
Yeah, you never played a Paladin. How can you hate it?
Yeah, and this feels bad, but the fighter is probably one of my least favorites just because I was bored. Mechanically of it, not like playing. It introduced me to D&D, and I thought it was like, okay, this is the guy swings sword,
Right?
easy stuff. But after playing a rogue, a wizard, a warlock, a druid, a barbarian, I've done several others at this point. I've played a ranger. You know,
The fighter's pretty low in your list.
fighter, ranger are down there. Yeah.
Now I need to ask this. I know we keep saying we're going to get to the Warlock, but now I have a follow-up question. After what we went over about the 5.5 fighter and the weapon mastery and the other things, the benefits, doesn't make you like the fighter anymore, theoretically? Does it look more interesting to play, or
Yes,
is
it
it
does.
still kind of where it was for you?
I would like to try it again.
Okay.
I would like to try it in a campaign like where the dungeon master understands what it is to be a fighter and works with me a lot to get everything we can out of it.
Yeah.
Like a ranger. But it never works out. Like, it's hard because somebody's like, I want to run a game. I have an idea already. I need players. And then it's like, well, fat fucking chance I'm going to get to scout like a ranger, in this campaign. It's just probably not going to happen. It's not going to be a survival game.
We're going to talk about this more when we get to the Ranger, but I'm currently playing a Ranger in a different system, and there's something that stood out to me about 5e Rangers as soon as I built this Ranger, but we're going to get to that later. Let's talk about the Warlock. Okay. So the Warlock has quite a few changes going on. The first is that Eldritch Invocations is now a level 1 feature.
Cool.
This is kind of in a similar line where the halfcasters are getting spells at level 1. Warlocks, instead of having to wait a level, you get your invocations up front, which is good because invocations are one of the core identifiers of the Warlock. So
yes. Stuff you get to do all the time, no matter what, because you're limited in your casting.
Exactly. So Warlock gets more invocations overall than the 2014 Warlock. The number of invocations that can be taken at lower levels, so they've made it so you can get to the cool stuff sooner theoretically. And this is probably the biggest one: the pact boons that you got at level 3, the Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Tome, etc., etc. Those are no longer like semi-subclass features. They are now just invocations.
Yeah, I saw the Crawford man say, the Craw, as we'll call him. They want it to be more like you can sort of blend them and do them all in one
You could
Warlock.
do them all if you wanted to. You could blend it 2.
Yeah.
You could do none, I suppose, if you wanted to, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I like this move. I think it was the right move. And I think mostly it's because of the Pact of the Blade. Because the Pact of the Blade, number one, it's been improved. But even as it was, the Pact of the Blade was just really, how do I say this? You went Hexblade if you wanted to do Pact of the Blade.
Yeah.
And now they're making it in a way where you could do Pact of the Blade across all the different various otherworldly patrons, and it'll be good because it'll be more like what the Hexblade was. Does that make sense?
Yes. As a player, I just remembered I am currently playing a bard who's going to multi-class Warlock, and I'm going to go Pact of the Hexblade, and I remember reading it and being like, well, it has to be this.
Yeah, it has to be.
Pretty
Yeah,
much
it has to be that, yeah.
Luckily, this is exactly what I wanted, but
yeah, it works out
this
very
time.
much. Yeah, absolutely. And similarly in a game I'm playing in your game, I'm playing a fighter Hexblade multi-class. And it had to be Hexblade to get what I wanted for the fighter. Like I couldn't have done any other of the patrons because they don't actually mix sword and sorcery that well.
And now we're getting away from that.
Indeed, yes. Okay. So Pact of the Chain now has more familiar options. These familiars are supposed to be related to the patrons that you can choose. Some of the examples that they give were...
Hold on, wait. What's a familiar?
A familiar is like a magical arcane like pet.
Cool. Not options that you are familiar with.
Yeah.
What Will just said.
Indeed.
Sorry, just in case there's anybody, we
You
like
never
to
know.
be inclusive to people that are new.
Indeed. So these familiars are supposed to be related to the patrons that you can choose. Some examples that were given were a slawed tadpole, a skeleton, which I don't know if you know this about me, Brian, but skeletons are one of my favorite monsters. And I know that sounds stupid, but I love me a skeleton brand skeleton.
No,
They're
skeletons
super
are everything. They
them.
can be anything you want them to be.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
can talk. They could be evil.
Exactly.
Like, whatever.
Absolutely. So I love skeletons. I love that that's an option. And then they have an option that's kind of supposed to represent the celestial warlock. It's a new monster called the Sphinx of Wonder.
Oh.
And it's like a celestial cat with angel wings and swirling stars in its fur and feathers. It's very pretty.
I like that. It feels like carrying around a lucky charm, but it talks to you.
Indeed.
There's an angel on your shoulder.
It's also a cat.
That's why I liked warlocks having like imps.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one? Quasits that you can send out.
And those are still options.
And they can like go fly around.
Yeah.
Or like a raven.
I believe before it was the options that you had were pseudo dragon, quasit, sprite, and imp were the four special ones.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I would let the players flavor whatever. So like, you want a fucking rat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's hinted that the Pact of the Blade is taking more cues from the Hexblade, which we kind of talked about just a few minutes ago, so that any patron warlock can be efficient with weapons. The main thing I think that would be taken is this idea of you being able to use your charisma modifier for your attack roll instead of your strength or dexterity.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the key thing to making the Hexblade work.
Yes.
But anyways, there will be invocations that can modify cantrips other than Eldritch Blast.
Yay!
And it did seem like I don't remember the names of them, but there was the one that like extends Eldritch Blast's range, right?
Yeah. Or can add a push to,
or add a push,
or a pull. Or,
yes,
there's all kinds of stuff.
The way they made it sound was like those invocations still exist, but now they don't just apply to Eldritch Blast; they apply to other cantrips as well. So
okay.
Like Ray of Frost can. You could take the one invocation and that will work for both Eldritch Blast and Ray of Frost.
So instead of add this to Eldritch Blast, it'll be like add this to these cantrips or like a cantrip.
Yeah, a cantrip that has a range of blank.
Yes, like an attack spell cantrip.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because some of them wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So next up, we have a new invocation example. Which is called Lessons of the First Ones, which allows the Warlock to take an additional origin feat.
Okay.
And then finally we get, at level 2, a new feature, Magical Cunning. This is a way to get packed magic back sooner than just on a short or long rest. This is due to Warlocks feeling overly constrained on their spellcasting, but there were no specifics given.
Sure.
So
we're fixing this short rest machine.
It sounds like a way to probably regain one spell slot once a day. So a little extra.
Yeah.
Who's to say? We don't have the specifics.
Yeah, it's 2024. Now we have battery packs that we can take and put on our phones. The Warlock has one for their spells.
Exactly right.
Okay.
The Otherworldly Patron is now at level 3 instead of level 1. All classes get their subclass at level 3 these days.
Okay.
So I don't see a problem with that. I think it's fine. I like this idea that like your patron was always a fiend, but you didn't get the good stuff until you proved yourself.
Yes,
and now it's like, well, now you get the fiend flavor stuff.
I like
Before
it.
you were on the basic plan. Now you're on the pro plan.
Yeah, it's true. Jumping back to the magical cunning. Can you imagine a warlock fucking cracking like a Red Bull and pounding it?
Hold on, guys. Let's go!
It's like fucking shooting up.
Yeah. Oh god. But yeah, I mean, you can flavor however you want. Magical cunning, bitch. All subclasses get a further expanded list based on their patron, and now all spells are always prepared and do not count against spells you prepare with your packed magic, which I believe is pretty big because Warlocks in 5e have always had a little bit of an issue of like, not only do they have a small amount of spell slots, but they kind of have a small selection of spells per day.
Yes.
And this expands it by quite a bit, which is a good thing.
Cool.
So that is basically all the changes to the Warlock. They're all really early on.
Did we skip the Warlocks now have a built-in ability to call upon their patron?
Oh, we did. Okay, yes. So they're adding in this ability for Warlocks, like an actual written mechanic to call upon their patron.
Like a channel divinity?
Like a channel divinity.
Or more like, can my guy show up through the veil to like punch the bad guy really hard in the face?
I think it hasn't been expanded on entirely, but it does seem to be a little bit of a up to the DM from what I heard about it. But it's basically a way to call upon and communicate, call in a favor, and then it's like, well, the DM and the narrative take it from there. I do like this. I think it should have always been there. Dungeon Crawl Classics, the Wizard is kind of like a Warlock in a way where you could have a patron, and there is a mechanical way to invoke your patron, which God forbid you ever do. You do that only when you're in a real bind.
Right,
Because that can backfire real bad. But there's like a rolling table. If you roll well, your patron can just straight up show up or like send in like a squad of demons to help you out or whatever. But if you flub, you might just like take some corruption damage and, lose your powers for a day.
Yeah, I like the Warlock because of the patron wild card.
Yeah, the patron wild card. Yeah,
and same. I also like clerics and paladins enough for these reasons. Where if it really needs to we really need Deus Ex Machina up in the campaign.
It's an option.
Papa can show up.
It's true. It's true. All right, that's it for the base Warlock. For the subclasses, we have the Archfey, the Celestial, the Fiend, and the Great Old One.
I'm most excited for the Archfey.
Well, good, because it's the first one we're talking about.
Cool.
And so this is one where they've revamped it from the ground up. It's basically an entirely new subclass. And whether you think this is a good or bad thing, I think it's a little bit more of a mixed bag, but they have built this entire thing around teleportation. If you like teleporting, this is the subclass for you, because you're going to be doing a lot of it.
I mean, who doesn't like teleporting?
I like teleporting, it's true. And so that's why I said it's a mixed bag. There's a lot of cool to be had here, but also I feel like there's so much more to the Fae than teleportation that it's a little bit of an odd choice.
It's like a core tenet of like a lot of the monsters.
It is. No, it is. I mean, teleportation is a major facet of a lot of Fae behavior, but I just mean there's a lot more to... Like there's the charming and the illusion and the double speak and
stealing your
name, rules, and all that other stuff. But what's easy to build a mechanic around is teleportation. So here we are. I will say they're going to do this fixating on a very particular thing for an entire class later on that we're going to get into. But for now, let's focus on the Archfey Warlock. So new feature, Steps of the Fae. Lets you cast Misty Step a certain number of times per day without expending a spell slot, and allows some extra effects whenever you cast Misty Step. There are helpful effects like teleporting and gaining temporary HP, but also effects like Taunting Step, where you impose disadvantage on enemies attacking unless they attack you. So like almost like a tank pulling aggro.
Right. Okay. Like teleporting away and drawing aggro
and
to
then
you.
Talking some shit. Yeah. So that's cool. I feel like there's a lot of really cool things that we can see here. I'm curious to know what all these other options are that you can get. But yeah, that is Steps of the Fae. Later features punish creatures for attacking you, such as dealing psychic damage or you turning invisible. So those are two more examples that were given.
Damn, teleporting away and coming back invisible seems really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then next up we have level 14 new feature called Bewitching Magic. Whenever you cast an enchantment or illusion spell, you can Misty Step.
Okay.
Which of course stacks with your Steps of the Fae, special, tag on features, turn invisible or deal psychic damage or whatever it is that you do when you teleport.
It's in a game promoting a lot of movement.
We're promoting some movement over here.
Some movement. Yeah. That's cool for Warlock. I thought movement was huge for Warlock, and it was hard to do.
Yeah.
So having like push on Eldritch Blast was part of that. Is get this enemy away from me so I can move away unharmed.
Yeah, I do remember in 4th edition, the Warlock had a lot of utility spells that were centered around moving and getting to safety, whether it was like Ethereal Stride or Face Step or Shadow Walker, and there was a number of other things.
Yeah, this was a cast Eldritch Blast from the back class. Doesn't seem like that's changing.
Yeah. I do think there's a little bit of synergy with the Pact of the Blade here, because there's this taunting, but then also if they hit you, they'll deal psychic damage. So there's like this little bit of like pulling aggro effect, which works, I think, a little bit better for melee, or at least as well with melee.
That's true. I always played the other version. I'm now going to try the Pact of the Blade, the Blade Lock stuff. Doing up close combat won't be as bad, but still seems sus.
So that's basically it. It's just you could teleport a lot, and there's so many features that are all around your teleportation.
Yeah,
that's what the Archfey Warlock is now.
Okay.
Celestial Warlock. Not a lot of details were given on this one, but one detail was that at level 14, your Searing Vengeance can now be applied to you or an ally, which I believe it is like a healing effect. Let's pull up the original Celestial Warlock Searing Vengeance. So this is a capstone feature.
Okay.
So the radiant energy you channel allows you to resist death. When you have to make a death saving throw at the start of your turn, you can instead spring back to your feet with a burst of radiant energy. You regain hit points equal to half your hit point maximum, and then stand up if you so choose. Each creature of your choice that is within 30 feet of you takes radiant damage equal to 2d8 plus your charisma modifier, and is blinded until the end of your current turn.
Wow.
So this is, not only can you do this if you go down, but you can have an ally pop back up miraculously and, spray radiant damage everywhere.
Okay. And you blind the Grim Reaper, and he runs away. He's like, I'll be back for you, Warlock.
Indeed, yeah. So that's really the only change that was listed for the Celestial Warlock.
Oh, it does. I did see a video from the Craw that said that you don't have biceps anymore. It just looks like you do, and they're spiritual. They're mostly just spiritual in there. You're like a spiritual balloon.
You're like a spiritual balloon.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, next up, and speaking of spirits, we're talking about the Fiend.
Okay.
So the spell list has been changed. How it's been changed, I'm not sure. I do know that the Fiend Warlock from the Player's Handbook 2014 is very fire themed, which is not a bad thing. I like fire. I like devil stuff. Fire and devil stuff is super combined. But the thing about it that always stood out to me was that the Fiend is a very general term. There's so many types of fiends, and not just devil and demon. Although if we're just looking at demons are not necessarily tied to fire very much.
No, not necessarily.
They're really, it's more necrotic and poison and weird corruption shit. But that's not even to include like Eugoliths, and there's other fiends as well. So my prediction is that the spell list is going to be a little bit more general rather than being fire themed.
Okay.
That's just a guess on my part.
That seems good. Seems like a good thing.
Next up, we have Dark One's Blessing now grants temporary HP whether you drop a foe or someone else within a certain distance does. So you're feeding on life energy whether you just killed it or not, which I think is good. I like that.
Sweet.
Dark One's Luck can now be used more often. I believe it was once a short rest, so it's probably like
tied to proficiency.
Yeah, or something along those lines. Again, it wasn't specific, but more is good.
More is good.
Hurl Through Hell is said to be now scarier and more functional. I'm not sure
what was Hurl Through Hell before.
It was the capstone feature, and it was actually pretty fucking terrifying. So let's go over it real quick. So Hurl Through Hell, level 14. When you hit a creature with an attack, you can use this feature to instantly transport the target through the lower planes. The creature disappears and hurtles through a nightmare landscape.
Okay, that's fucked.
Yeah. At the end of your next turn, the target returns to the space it previously occupied or the nearest unoccupied space. If the target is not a fiend, it takes 10d10 psychic damage as it reels from its horrific experience.
I saw a dude, he was a slug. There was shit everywhere.
Exactly.
There was some lady, but she was the whole fucking place.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
She was screaming. I saw her ribcage.
So, I mean, it was already pretty terrifying because not only does the creature lose an entire turn.
Oh, yeah, and then it got really cold and I saw a dude in an iceberg. And then I saw Satan.
But then when they came back, they take quite a bit of psychic damage. So the fact that it's said to have been made more terrifying, but also more functional, I'm very curious to see what they've done to Hurl Through Hell. And lastly, magical weapons no longer bypass Fiendish Resilience. So Fiendish Resilience was a feature that you got at level 10. You could choose one damage type when you finish a short or long rest. You gain resistance to that damage type until you choose a different one with this feature. Damage from magical weapons or silver weapons ignores this resistance. Not any longer, which is a good thing, because I would feel real bad to be like, I resist slashing damage, and the DM's like, no, you don't. So I'm glad they fixed that. That's good. Anything you want to add about the Fiend?
I thought about do you remember Cow and Chicken? It was like a cartoon
Yes,
network.
I do.
Do you remember the Satan from Cow and Chicken?
Yeah, he was like the Pete character for the Mickey Mouse group for Cow and Chicken, right? He was, he played that same role, but he's way grosser and weird.
Yeah, he's gross and weird. That's
like
the
the
thing
show.
doing the psychic damage to you. The thing that has its butt well animated all the
There
time.
we go. Yeah. Or just the show Cow and Chicken itself.
God, that was a weird show.
You're just forced to watch Cow and Chicken for, I don't know, 6 seconds. And
Yeah,
that's it. That's all it takes.
That's the second level of hell. You
That
just
is like
watch Cow and Chicken.
That is some peak, like late 90s, early 2000s, gross as shit looking animation. That
It does
was like
look terrible.
the thing.
And it was voiced to match the style of the animation.
It was.
Yeah.
All right, moving
I don't
on.
know
Great
why I
old
thought
one.
about that. Yeah, let's
Now
do
this
that.
is one that you have personal experience with. Great old one.
Yeah, tentacles.
Tentacles. You ran a Warlock that was great old one to what level?
14. Oh, wait, no.
No.
Way earlier.
Wait, yeah, was it like level 8? You ran it all the way to level 8?
8 or 9, yeah.
Before we did a swappy?
I did a swap.
So you have at least a moderate amount of experience with this subclass.
I feel like I got it.
You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
okay.
I understood it. I was like, I know where this is going. If I were to finish the game out with this, I feel like I know where I'd end up.
Okay. So what were your thoughts on the original great old one, Warlock, before we dive into the changes?
Well, I mostly detailed it already with my commentary from the earlier. Like my Warlock was just shooting Eldritch Blasting out
That's
of combat.
Yeah.
But the spells, when you do the spells, you really hope they go off because they're
they
very.
don't- yeah.
This is my favorite spell list.
Yeah.
I think was
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
It had the most unique flavor on the spells, I guess, is what you could summon. The tentacles, you could summon like pieces of the great old ones or Far Realm stuff. You could just get really weird.
You could
And
definitely get real weird.
Like the flavor on this is so good. I could do whatever I wanted. I was basically like an evil Looney Tunes character.
a little bit, yeah.
That's how I was looking at it. Like I just I need tentacles, or I need like that guy to start laughing
Right.
or whatever,
Okay.
That's how I felt. It was a lot of fun, and you've got to be tactical. The Warlock is a really, really tactical class, and you have to time all your stuff really well, or you feel bad.
Or you feel bad,
Yeah. So I hope they kind of fix that. It looks like they're kind of fixing that a little bit.
Let's see what you think.
Because casting a spell and having a spell cast that isn't concentration, that requires a save, it doesn't do a lot on a pass on the save, that feels really bad.
Real bad, yeah.
Yeah. Now half my magic is
Or
gone.
like slow.
Guess
slow
yeah.
is like the main culprit. Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that.
If I guess I'm back to shooting beams.
Right. Right.
Oh well.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So the great old one, Crawford is saying it's totally revamped and is essentially a new subclass.
The craw.
The Craw. Create Thrall is functionally new, but using the same name as the old version of the subclass, but it relies on you summoning an aberration via the spell Summon Aberration. The Summon Aberration spell now lets you summon a version of the Mind Flayer.
That's sick.
Yeah. There's a new feature called Psychic Spells. Enchantment and illusion magic can be cast without verbal components, which I think is pretty awesome. And it kind of evokes this idea of what you're doing isn't necessarily arcane magic, but psionics.
Yes.
So you don't need to speak. You're telepathically causing these things to happen.
That's good.
And damage from spells that you cast can be changed to psychic damage. So if somehow you get your hands on a fireball spell, it can now be a psychic ball. And
That's
pretty
awesome.
Cool. That's pretty awesome. There is also a feature called Clairvoyant Combatant that they failed to iterate on in any meaningful way, so I have no information besides the name. And then lastly, they have a new feature called Eldritch Hex. So the Hex spell imposes disadvantage on saving throws in this case with this feature, which is a big deal because the Hex spell has always only imposed disadvantage on checks, which are a lot more rare. than saving throws during combat.
Yeah.
So now you can hex somebody and give them disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, which sets up either you or the wizard to do more wisdom shit to them.
That's cool. I kind of like them leaning in that. I always looked at hex like, okay, at higher levels, I can hold this for longer. So I can cast it on somebody maybe that I'm like running away from that might need to like do parkour to get to me, and I can impose disadvantage on like dexterity checks on them.
Right.
Or
Well, that's
like,
probably everyone always shows dex or strength, right? Because those are the two that might come up.
or like I know that I'm gonna get in a debate with this person. I'm gonna hex them
fighting.
beforehand, beforehand. Like I'm gonna hex them out of combat to impose like some sort of charisma disadvantage, so I can win in an argument or like win in a debate of some kind. Like that's the only thing I was really like, okay, this has a out of combat application and an in combat application.
I think the out of combat application there though is troublesome because I think it's hard to pull off a hex spell without someone realizing they're hexed. You know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only drawback I can think of the out of combat thing.
I'm sure I would kind of like if that person is magically aware of the world in that way, I guess.
Well, I think the general rule for spells is unless you have a way of doing it secretly and stealthily, like via the sorcerer has like the meta magic where you can do something without being caught. Subtle spell, that's what it's called.
Oh yeah.
I think generally speaking, it's supposed to be like it's very obvious you're casting a spell unless it's said otherwise.
Yes, you can cast it from. I should have hex up to make sure that you can do this stuff I'm saying, but
like, I think it's still a good idea. And as a DM, I would find a way to allow it under certain circumstances. But that's the only thing I can think of that would hold hex back. At most tables, you know what I mean?
I think so. Like being hidden and casting it, because what's gonna alert people is you waving your fucking hands around and saying magic words. Not necessarily that like if you didn't see that stuff and you got hit with a hex, you'd be like, oh, someone just hexed me. That I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
I think maybe if you're able to pull it off in secret somehow,
right,
they're maybe not aware until.
I agree. And that's how I would make it work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, that's how I was operating here. All right.
Clairvoyant combatant, again, I don't have any information, but if I had to make a guess, I would not be surprised if you get to add your charisma modifier to spells, to psychic damage spells is my guess, but that's only a guess.
Yeah, maybe it's a like a dodge once per rest sort of thing.
It could be.
Like get it.
Because
wasn't there a feature
clairvoyance? I could see that. Yeah, like you see something coming.
It had a feature that could impose disadvantage on one thing they were doing to you, or maybe advantage on one thing that was being done to you that you were saving against. There was a feature like that.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what that was.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Thought shield. Your thoughts can be written. You have now resistance to psychic damage.
No.
Entropic ward. You learn to magically ward yourself against attacks and to turn an enemy's failed strike into good luck for yourself. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that roll. If the attack misses you, your next attack roll on the creature has advantage. Yeah, it probably has something to do with Entropic ward.
Yeah, I'm thinking
it probably
maybe
fills
it's
a similar role. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, I guess we'll find out as we get more information.
All right.
Wait, let's take a short rest.
We've returned.
Indeed we have.
We're fucking back.
Indeed we are.
That's what it was. You have to say we've returned, not just we're fucking back.
Is that how you did last time when we initiated the confusion?
Yeah, 2 episodes ago, because we've had some scheduling. Like we're inserting these episodes in front of topics we might have already recorded.
Indeed.
And we're recovering from our schedule getting obliterated.
Yeah.
We're still working on getting back on track.
Yeah. Sicknesses and health issues and all kinds of stuff.
And then I took vacation.
There's vacation.
Yeah. I deserved it. Anyway.
Yes, you did.
Anyway, welcome home. I don't know if Alien Beard was on this one. Maybe not. Maybe we're just waiting for 400 to bring them back.
Yeah.
They're on vacation too.
Yeah, and they deserve it.
Sky vacation. They deserve it. I have a Patreon thing to drop from them still. I'm kind of waiting on.
Okay.
For when we have more pipeline stuff. Anyway, you can support the Dungeoncast, Alien and Beard, on patreon.com/Dungeoncast. It's the best way to support us financially, beyond just listening to the show and telling people that it exists and that you would like them to listen to it. But thanks for being here, and I'm really excited for the 5.5 stuff. I want to play this new version of the game and see what it's like. And I won't be able to for several months from now, but that's okay. I'm a patient boy. Will, what are we going to talk about the Druid?
We're going to talk about the Druid.
Okay.
So the Druid I have a lot more information on than the Warlock, and it seems like there's been a lot of changes. And I feel like we're going to get a lot of a similar reaction. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like it's going to be a similar reaction to the Paladin.
Okay.
Where the Paladin lovers, there's certain ones that are really disappointed, but everyone else is pretty okay with it and pretty thumbs up on it.
Okay, so Druid fan people are going to be like...
They might be... that's the vibe I'm getting.
Okay, so what that tells me is they're going to remove some of the abuse
of
some of the features.
Indeed.
Okay.
Which, as we know, was centered around the Circle of the Moon beast wild shapes. So
yeah, and then they did it in the movie, right?
And then, in the movie, they kind of made it more
in the movie, they were
powerful.
they were breaking it.
They were breaking even the already broken.
Got it.
All right, so let's get into it. So we're starting off with a new feature. This is a level 1 feature called Primal Order. So this is a choice feature, and I believe you can change this on level ups or long rests, but basically this is the major choice point for the Druid. The idea here are you going to be a Druid that just is basically a wizard? Like you are a nature wizard, or are you going to be a Druid that kind of is a halfway between a half caster and a full caster, where you're a full caster, but you do have some martial prowess going on,
right?
And the choice is between the Warden and the Magician.
Okay.
So, like I said, essentially a choice between mixing in martial abilities versus going all caster. The Warden gets proficiency in medium armor and martial weapons. The Magician gets an extra cantrip and the ability to add their wisdom modifier to Arcana and nature checks. And then there's going to be all the new features are going to kind of build on this. Basically, you'll get a version of a feature that's Warden leaning and a version that's Magician leaning.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. But before that, next up, the Druidic feature, which gave you the extra language Druidic, also gives you the Speak with Animal spells for free.
Okay.
Next up is Wild Shape is now a bonus action for all Druids. So not just the Circle of the Moon. Everyone can Wild Shape as a bonus action. Obviously, the Circle of the Moon one is going to get the bigger buffer beasts. But yeah, I think this was a good move.
Okay.
Because I think Wild Shape, I have a Druid in a game full of newbies. And they're doing great and they're loving the game. But when it comes to wild shaping, she has refused to wild shape every time she considered it. She changed her mind because it was an action, and they're trying to avoid that. And I think it's a good move. Make it a bonus action.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also continue to speak while in wild shape form. I have conflicting feelings on this.
I do too.
I loved in Super Quest Saga when you guys couldn't talk to Percy because she was a space chicken lizard. And it was so funny and it was so good. And it makes sense. You don't have the vocal cords for it, right?
Right. You do animal charades or whatever.
Yeah, you do the animal charades and it makes sense because you are the animal now. But at the same time, there is something to be said about you are a magical version of that animal, as you are still who you are, and you are able to magically speak.
Whatever.
It's fine. It's just, I do feel like we lose something, and I feel like if we pretend like we don't, we're lying to ourselves.
I agree with you. Actually, I'm 100% with you on
Thank
this.
you.
I almost wish they didn't do that.
I pretty much almost wish they didn't do this. It's fine. It's just. I'll never regret
just
Space Chicken Lizard
the
Percy.
Fucking hijinks
is so funny.
Not just of that campaign, of any campaign. If you didn't plan around that, that's on you.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on in our campaign.
Yes, and it's so funny.
We were impromptu, okay, you need to wild shape right now so we can deal with this and we'll do this plan. And I was like, oh, fuck.
It was so
Nobody knows what the fuck is going on anymore.
Yeah, it's so good. But anyways, you get 2 uses of Wild Shape starting at level 2, 3 uses starting at level 6, and 4 starting at level 17. This is a pretty good improvement because I'm pretty sure you only got 2 uses per day for the lifetime of the Druid until the very, very end, if you were, I believe, Circle of the Moon Druid.
Okay.
Now you get a little bit of scaling usage. So I think that's a good thing.
All right.
I think 3 at level 6 is good. And then they do this thing where it's like, okay, we'll give you another one, but we're going to give it to you so late game it basically doesn't exist. I'm like, does it have to be a 17? Can we not give like a level, I don't know, 13 or 14 Druid a 4th use? Like that, the late game extra +1s always leave me scratching my head a little bit, but whatever. It's, who cares?
I agree with you on that too.
Yeah, you gain temporary hit points when you wild shape, but no longer are beast forms using the beast hit points as a separate hit point pool. Now you simply get temp HP up on top of your normal HP, and it all stays in one hit point pool. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's good. Instead of having two HP pools where you get hit at the end of your wild shape, it carries over a little bit into your regular HP.
Yeah.
You are working with the same. That never made sense to me.
No, it never made sense.
This makes sense. This is the way it always should have been.
Indeed. Because, before it's this, you turn into a big bag of HP. When that's gone, you still have your base HP, and then you wild shape, and now you're a different big bag of HP. And then you burn through that, and you still have all your HP. And it was
balancing
ridiculous.
encounters was just dumb.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense.
Dude, Superquest Saga was crazy.
I know. I only got away with what we got away with because I had 2 guys that were like fucking immortal. Yeah, basically.
You had a Circle of the Moon Druid and you had a fucking paladin, and then you were a wizard. And a wizard's nothing to sneeze at. Wizards are very powerful.
No, I was doing like really cool shit all the time.
Yeah.
I was turning into fucking dinosaurs and
it was
exploding when I teleport. I was multi-classing fighter for a little bit, so I was double fireballing. It was fucking sick.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, moving on.
I guess that was illegal, though.
Yeah, it was super illegal. But honestly, you needed it with those 2 on the team. So that's cool. Double fireball, man.
Yeah,
it's
I was like,
good.
well, I'm going to multi-class this, so the first thing I fucking do is double fireball.
I was just like, fuck it. Whatever you do, it's not going to hurt me as much as fucking Sebastian's double smites.
It's true. I could break the rules and double fireball in it and kill 4 guys, and Sebastian was still way cooler than me.
Not cooler, just scary. There's now a limitation on beast forms known. So this one's interesting because before it was, as long as you were familiar with the beast, you could transform into it. It actually led to a lot of debates on Starseekers or on Superquest Saga because totally alien world, Percy only being able to absorb so much information and gain familiarity with, and so she had a limited number of transformations because of it.
Right.
But the rules as written was a little bit more vague. Now they're kind of going with how I ended up doing it for Percy, where you have just a limited number of forms known. So at level 2, you have 4 forms known. At level 4, you get 6 forms, and at level 8, you get 8 forms, and that's where it tops out.
Yeah, it begs, I have a limited capacity. Each of these wild shapes takes a different knowledge set to do.
Yeah. And I think the actual functionality behind it is they are trying to save tables time at the table, where the Druid is trying to look up one of 100 different forms they can turn into and make a decision, versus now you got it pared down to 8. So the decision was probably already made before the session ever started. Does that make sense?
Level 2, 4 forms, level 4, 6 forms, and level 8, 8 forms. I mean, that pool, comparatively speaking, seems small, but I like the concept.
Agreed. So, new feature at level 2, Wild Companion. You can now use a wild shape use if you don't want to transform at all. That's not your thing. And now you can use it on finding a familiar.
Oh, okay.
Find familiar spot.
I wild shaped the fucking air.
This, I believe, was already a thing you could do in Tasha's as an optional rule.
Oh, I don't think I ever looked at the...
Yeah.
I only
don't play
looked
Druids
at the
very
Tasha
often.
stuff that I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but I think it is a good addition, because I do think that there is a completely separate Druidic archetype, which is the pet haver, not the pet beer.
Right, yeah.
Next up, we have a new feature, Wild Resurgence. So you can give yourself a wild shape use by expending a spell slot, or give yourself an extra level 1 spell slot in exchange for a wild shape use. This one is only once per day, though. Yeah.
Right.
So I find it interesting that the giving up a wild shape for a level 1 spell is the one that's once per day, and not the other way around, because after, I don't know, level 5 or so, level 1 spell slots become less and less useful very fast.
Yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of level 1 spells. I feel like I want to carry some of them with me to the end. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Especially the damagey ones.
The damaging ones are the ones that fall off. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But the utility ones, they stay useful.
They do. Then we get another new feature at level 7 called Elemental Fury. So this is another martial versus caster choice point. You can either get Primal Strike, which grants you an additional 1d8 cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage when you hit a creature using a weapon or beast form attack. The damage type is chosen on hit. Versus Potent Spellcasting, which adds Wisdom modifier to cantrip damage.
Okay.
So both good. Both solid. I actually like Primal Strike a lot, depending on how it pairs up with multi-classing.
Okay.
I'm always looking for ways to like get like an elemental swordsman on board, and like if I can get to level 7 druid and then maybe a level 5 fighter on top of it, like that might be the mix I'm looking for.
Agreed. Okay.
But we'll see how rules are written later. Last up, we have a new feature called Improved Elemental Fury at level 15. Potent spellcasting increases the range of your cantrips by 300 feet.
Oh my god.
Which is enormous. My god.
That's insane.
Yes. And then Primal Strike equals even more damage. I think it's an additional D8.
Cool. This is a good level 15 feature.
Agreed. Like. I agree. And then the capstone level 20 feature, Archdruid, has been enhanced. So when you roll initiative, if you have no use of Wild Shape left, you gain 1 use of Wild Shape and a more advanced version of Wild Shape to spell conversion, which I'm imagining it's like now you get level 2 spells or some shit.
Okay. I enjoy this.
Yes, good.
This,
right?
This has been good.
Yes, agreed.
This is a fix.
I agree. Yeah. It was funnily enough to a class that was already considered pretty solid, but yes, it's like an improvement in all the right ways.
It was a very solid class, and I never really had a problem with it, like I did with Smite. But I did recognize that like this is an issue. Like I basically have to focus on this person in combat, like a lot more. Like, oh fuck, they're a bear. Let me go take down that bear.
Now I need them to be not a bear. Yeah.
Or else this fight doesn't matter and I'll lose.
Exactly.
That's how the enemy would have to treat it, which is meta knowledge a lot of time. But that's what I had to do to balance, and I didn't really DM for a lot of druids, so that wasn't like too big of a thing.
Right. Well, the 4 subclasses that they are including in the new Player's Handbook are Circle of the Moon and Circle of the Land, which were from the original Player's Handbook, and also Circle of the Stars, which was part of Tasha's, but an entirely new subclass called Circle of the Sea. And this one in particular interests me because I have a lightning themed spell blade, which I think I can make with this druid, which is really weird because originally they were a sword mage in 4th edition.
Lightning is nature.
Lightning is nature.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Druids are like, I am nature. Rangers are like, I hang out here.
Yeah, I live here.
I love it a lot. I live here.
But yeah, we'll get to the ranger. God, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. Let's burn through this. Okay, so Circle of the Moon. So quite a few changes. Circle Forms now has armor class buff. So you can use the beast's armor class or an armor class of 13 plus your wisdom modifier, which is great because a lot of beasts have shit for armor class. It's going to be like a 12 or a 13 for a lot of these beasts.
Yes.
And now, like, if you got a plus 4 to wisdom, like 17, what's up?
Okay, cool. That's a good balance between, like, that was the pitfall of the old wild shape was you're getting hit all the time.
Because your AC sucks. Yeah, absolutely. You also gain extra temp HP compared to the base druid. Like, so when you wild shape, your AC gets better and you get more temp HP than a normal druid would.
Sick.
Circle of the Moon spells feature at level 3 gives you a list of spells that you can cast while in wild shape form. And I think before when you were wild shape form, you could not cast spells, but you could use spell slots to heal yourself. I think that was a thing.
Yes, that was a thing.
Now there's going to be spells that you can specifically use in wild shape form. And it's going to be part of a feature spell list. At level 6, you get improved circle form. So at level 6, you can choose to deal an attack's normal damage type or radiant damage, which is weird, but they're going with a moon theme here.
Oh.
Which is weird, but okay.
Yeah, since radiant should be like godly. I guess the moon has a god. We talk about her.
Them.
Several of them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's this idea that it's like light. I don't care for it. I don't care for this one.
They don't want to write down exactly what radiant means or
right.
is.
Yeah, because it's not holy versus unholy, even though it kind of is, but it kind of isn't.
Yeah.
It's positive energy versus negative energy is actually what it's supposed to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the
That
staple?
is. Yeah,
part of the
because
lore?
radiance comes from the positive energy plane, and
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
et
So as
cetera,
long as you got that light, baby.
yeah, you gotta.
It
have
doesn't
that
matter
light.
how you get it.
But this replaces this mundane attack, still magical damage, and this is further evidence that they're scrapping magical damage as a thing.
Good.
Like I 100% think that we no longer have magical bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing, and I feared that like we're just gonna replace it with force damage, which is I have mixed feelings about that.
Maybe there's a new spell plague.
Maybe we'll see.
There's a canonic
Spell Plague
reason.
2.0.
Shout out to the I incited my own shout out to the spell plague, but there it is.
Level 10, you get a feature called Moonlight Step. You no longer gain the elemental wild shape feature. It has been replaced by the moon flavored Moonlight Step, which allows you to use the bonus action to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space. Sorry guys, I got lower braces installed, and you might be noticing that installed, motherfucker.
I know.
And you might be noticing I'm tripping over my tongue more than usual. That's the reason. It's only been a little over a week. I'm still getting used to them.
Will's mouth is new.
My mouth is new.
It's getting newer every day.
It's getting newer every day. Adult braces. That was a choice. Which allows you to use the bonus action to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space and gain advantage on your next attack roll before the end of your turn. Again, we were promoting movement, which now I feel mixed about it, because when I was first reading about all these features and hearing about them, I was like, fuck yeah, tactics. I love tactics. This is going to be great.
Fourth edition's home. You're
I
home.
know. Give me 4.5.
Yeah.
But like your poignant point about it being very conducive to a VTT environment and how they're trying to push the VTT, I'm like, I think you're super right. And I do think that is probably a motivator, which makes me feel bad because I love the tactics, but I don't love this idea of forcing groups that would normally avoid a VTT into using a VTT because of the inconvenience. That's not cool.
Yeah, they'll streamline the VTT. All these features will be embedded into the VTT and be easier to use, but it's just a lot to keep track of, and you need the board if you're gonna do it without the VTT. If you're gonna do it on Roll20 or whatever, that
you need the board. Yeah,
it all still works. Like it's just like 4th edition. It's gonna be a lot to keep track of, and everybody's gonna be really combat's gonna take longer.
Yeah, and 4th edition combat takes longer. It's more fun, but it takes longer.
Yep, and that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
I think is like in 5e you can have a narrative combat, and that'll be where the fun is at if combat is boring in your group. And here, combat will be, you can still have that, but combat is going to take longer with the mechanical like push and this and that. And like, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. And if you're not doing it on the VTT with like forgetting to do that one thing on your last round that you just remembered this round, but now too much has happened and we have to just move on, that's going to sadden
I
players.
think... Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see a schism growing. I think it's going to be slower than in past, but I was reading some threads discussing tabletop RPGs in general recently, and there was a big discussion about 5th edition and like what does 5th edition do, right? And like the general what's the word? Consensus was that the best thing about 5e is that it is simple enough for new players to get on board and have a great time, and complex enough for veterans to make their own fun and gloss over the flaws that they're very well familiar with, and like everyone can still come to the table and have a great time.
Yeah.
And all the proposed fixes or systems that quote unquote do things better. The problem is that they do things better for only subsects of fans. So like, I'm going to use Pathfinder 2nd Edition as a good example. Pathfinder 2nd Edition is a fantastic system. It's built incredibly competently. It is beautiful and elegant, I would go as far as to say. And that beauty and elegance comes down to how well everything maths out, but also how every little action that you can take in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is extremely detailed mechanically. Yeah. Like if you want to do something, there's a rule for it, right? And obviously this is tabletop RPGs. If you don't like a rule, you can hand wave it or change it if you want. But the idea that it being so spelled out is such a great thing is only true for people who like that. And it is the polar opposite in a big way to the people that do not like that don't want more rules, they don't want more crunch. It is the absolute bane of their existence.
Yeah,
right?
reading hard.
Exactly. And it goes the other way. There are other systems that are much more freeform, that don't have rules, that are a lot more like kind of leave it up to your creativity and stuff. And for people who want that, who like having the chains broken and the free form to do whatever they want, it's a dream. But to the people who like want more, foundational rules to build their creativity on, it's like you're drowning in an ocean and you don't know how to swim. It's the opposite, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that I think we're going to start to see a schism on, because like 5e has hit this weird sweet spot. Whether you hate it or love it, 5e really has hit this sweet spot that no other TTRPG has ever hit before in the history of TTRPGs. And it's been 10 years, and they're going to make some changes, and they are sliding ever so slightly into the more tactical. And there's going to be a large subsect of the 5th edition audience that isn't going to like it. And I think we're going to start to slowly see some schisms.
I mean, yeah, they're going to keep playing 5th edition. That's
yeah,
just the way it's going to
exactly,
be.
Yeah,
they're going to take from this what is cool, and we'll probably have an episode, and I was thinking about this while I was on vacation, we'll probably have an episode about the reverse compatibility that they're promoting with 5e and how you can incorporate those things into the game, and keep that sweet spot that you're talking about of 5e intact at your table while rebalancing combats, essentially, is what's going to happen, or keeping that at the table. To your point on Pathfinder 2e, whenever we were looking up the rules for anything, because we played it for a while, it was basically what I would have come up with on my own that made the most sense anyway, and I loved it. That felt so validating that we were handling this in 5e in a way that Pathfinder also handles it, just wrote it down.
Exactly.
Pretty much more or less. We didn't get deep into the levels or anything. We played till like what, level 5?
I think it was level 4. Yeah.
And and I was probably looking ahead, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking at stuff my character could do and what other characters were going to be doing and what like action economy was going to look like and all that. And I was like, well, what if I want to do this? Everything I would find would be like, this is exactly how I would like parse it out with my players at the table anyway.
Right.
And so that made me happy. So yes, it's nice. It is detailed and elegant, just like you're saying, and it makes sense.
It does make sense.
And that made me okay with the crunchiness of it. It was like, well, if it fucking makes sense, if it's not like, oh, well, now you're adding this and this and this and blah, 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 and now this. And yeah, it does kind of get a little bit like that in the upward of the game. But
yeah, there's a lot of situational bonuses in Pathfinder 2nd edition.
Yes.
Which is true for Pathfinder 1st edition and for 4th edition D&D. So it's not the only system that's like that.
You need to be detail oriented playing that game.
You do.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, we've gone way off course.
Well, no, it ties into this. You need to be detail oriented playing this game.
You have to be more than you were.
Like.
More than you were for 5th edition base.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Final feature for the Circle of the Moon Druid is Lunar Form, level 14. The Lunar Form feature at level 14 replaces the 1,000 Forms feature from 2014 Circle of the Moon Druid. With Lunar Form, once per turn, you deal an additional 2d10 radiant damage to a target you hit with a Wild Shape Forms attack. This means at level 15, on a hit, you would deal your base damage plus 2d10 radiant damage plus the 2d8 damage of your choice if you pick Primal Strikes as your elemental fury feature.
You almost said furry, huh?
Furry. I did.
Dang.
I did. Sorry. But that's a lot of damage, is my point. That's a lot of damage.
It is.
It's like, here's my base attack damage plus 2d10 radiant plus 2d8 lightning or whatever.
It's fucking cool. I wonder what that
cool.
looks like, in the story
That's
world.
some super epic stuff.
I agree.
Let's move on. Circle of the Land, the Wizard Druid, if you will. Rather than choosing, so this is a Druid that originally you would choose a land type to be associated with, and your spell list was heavily modified based off that like terrain type.
Is this like a flat earther? Like the land is circle, not a sphere?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So rather than choosing your land type permanently, now every time you finish a long rest, you can choose the type of land you have a connection with. But the choices have been really pared down. There was like 8 different land types before. Now there's 4.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember that.
Yeah, now there's arid land, temperate land, polar land, and tropical land.
Okay.
And
that's
again,
vague enough to work.
I know, just vague enough to work. And you can change it out at a long rest. I do like changing it. I think I would be the kind of person to give myself like the limitation of like I have to change it to whatever land I'm in. But that's a me thing. That's something I would do for fun. it's good that you get to change it out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So new feature, Lands Aid. You can now burn a wild shape used to cause an eruption of nature magic that can harm enemies or heal allies. They weren't specific on it. I think this is good because I think coming up with alternate uses of wild shape is very useful for the more magic-y druids who don't want to turn into animals anyways, except for utility.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Like a scouting mission.
Right. Next up, Natural Recovery now also allows you to cast a level 1 spell from your chosen land type's spell list without spending a spell slot once per day, so extra casting is always good. Nature's Ward now gives you resistance to a damage associated with your land choice, and you are now immune to the poison condition. Cool. Nature Sanctuary now allows the use of a wild shape which causes trees and plants to erupt from a point you could see, giving you and your allies half cover, and also sharing with your allies the resistance you have from your Nature's Ward.
That's cool.
Yeah, so again, very useful, good things that you can do in lieu of wild shaping in combat.
Yeah.
I think it's overall good.
We're all druids now.
Yeah, I think the Circle of Land Druid was already pretty damn good. It was basically the Wizard Druid, and I think it's just been made better.
Agreed.
Okay. Moving on, let's do the new one, Circle of the Sea.
Okay.
So this one is all about channeling the magic of oceans and storms.
It always felt weird, like the Earth is mostly water.
Right.
Why
right.
wouldn't we
this
have
one
a
was
mostly
blatantly
water
missing.
campaign?
There was like a big empty hole that needed to be filled with Circle of the Sea, and now it has been.
Very good.
So, so the first feature you get, level 3, Wrath of the Sea. Expend a use of wild shape as a bonus action to manifest a storm aura.
A Stora.
A story.
If you will.
Once per turn, you can force a creature in the aura to make a con save or take cold damage and be hurled away.
Neat.
Wrath of the Sea aura gets bigger at level 6 and increases by 10 feet.
Whoa.
You also gain a swim speed.
Okay.
And this
Well,
is...
like, doesn't everybody sort of have a swim speed?
No, actually. Well, sort of. It's like half your speed.
Yeah.
But
so
now
you have a real
swim speed. Like,
now you can do like actual speed.
Yeah. Now you can just move freely in the water at your normal speed.
Rather than just like swimming.
Exactly.
Like with your strong body.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Also, I'm already in the reflavor mode. The cold damage is fine, but I do think, because we're talking storms here, I do think it would be cooler if you could choose between cold, thunder, and lightning.
Yeah. Not all storms are cold.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I think it's a great feature. I think this is why we didn't get the Storm Herald Barbarian, because they're like, no, we're gonna do this better this time.
There you go.
And then at level 10, you get the Stormborn feature. While the Wrath of the Sea is active, you gain a fly speed equal to your speed, and you have resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. 3 resistances and a fly speed. And you're going to be doing this shit all the time because, like, by level 10, you have 3 wild shapes a day.
Yeah.
And can spend a slot to gain another one.
I just mean, you got to be careful when you've got a fly speed, because you have a fall speed.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And bludgeoning damage is not on this as your resistance. So,
yep.
Level 14 is your final one. It's called Oceanic Gift. You can manifest your Wrath of the Sea aura around someone else if you choose.
Okay.
So if you, for some reason, are a little bit more on the castery side of things, you just aura of the Wrath of the Sea around the fighter, the frontliner. Get in there, get it done.
I'm having a really hard time fighting this Kraken, guys. I got my heavy armor on, and I'm on a boat.
Is that here? Let me give you a fly speed, 3 resistances, a swim speed, and an aura that does damage.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Like, that's the greatest gift anyone could give you.
When you're fighting a Kraken.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, most times in period, but also when you're fighting a Kraken. Yeah.
Did you know about Kraken Week, Will? I don't know if I told you or not.
No. What is this?
It was like when is this airing? It was like a week or 2 ago. And all the D&D YouTubers made Kraken videos, and I was like, there's no way with our schedule being fucked up like this that we're going to make a Kraken video right now. I thought maybe we could re-air the Kraken episode though, but now it's kind of too late.
I had no idea this was going on. Why? Why is there a Kraken thing going on?
I fucking don't know. I saw a Ginny D video where she was like, we're doing Kraken Week, and I was like, why?
It's like Shark Week, but Krakens?
That's exactly what she said.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because it's Shark Week.
Oh, okay. And there's no like shark equivalent.
I guess
in
not.
D&D.
Yeah, it just seemed odd.
I think that's fair. I like the move.
Apparently everybody did it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, cool.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Nah.
Someone asked us if we were going to do it in Discord.
Sometimes I question if we're even part of the D&D creator community. I feel like we live on our own island. Party Dungeoncast Island. Let's go.
We really do, actually.
Yes. We live on the island with Demogorgon. What's the name of his island again?
Oh, fuck. The Gaping
Maw. That's where we live.
He doesn't live on an island. There's an island nearby.
Okay, we live on the island nearby.
Yeah. What the fuck was that? The jungle of fucking...
Oh, it's escaping me right now.
The Jungus Among Us.
The Jungus Among Us. All right, let's move on.
Shout out to
we got a lot more to cover.
Well, I have a question for you about
ahead,
that,
yes.
but go ahead.
I was going to say
Circle of the Stars.
Circle of the Stars Druid. Completely unchanged from the Tasha's version.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey, go read it.
Go read it. We did a whole episode on it.
Okay, Will and I took a break
We did.
because we realized we've been recording for a long time,
We have.
and this could be like a super duper long episode, or it could just be 2 episodes. We decided we're gonna make it 2 episodes. So
Yeah. And also, spoiler, I will say that the next 2 classes that we're about to cover give a very different vibe onto what we're looking forward to for 5.5 than these last 3 we just covered.
yeah,
It's a good breaking point.
I'm looking at it. We have a ton of data for just those next 2 classes that could carry their own episode. Might not be as long as this one, but
It'll still be an hour.
it'll still be pretty long. So we're gonna jump into tavern talk. So let's do that.
Let's
Or
head
what
to
are we
the
calling
tavern.
it? Downtime. Tavern talk. I saw somebody.
Oh yeah, someone said
and
tavern talk. Yeah,
That was one of the pitches.
Yeah.
That was a repeated idea. I came up with it first and threw it out.
Yeah.
We went with downtime. I think tavern talk is just as good.
Hey, let's
if not better.
Let's do tavern talk while we downtime.
Yeah, I'll fucking put some like tavern music. Fuck it. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry for telling you we were gonna do all 5. We're not. We might do a little like intro for this episode,
yeah, sure.
like different, like, just to heads up you. But let's do some reader mail.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to. We're gonna call it tavern talk. Fuck downtime. We like downtime.
I'm
too,
having
but-
downtime here in the tavern where we're talking.
Yeah, it's both. It's tavern time is the umbrella, the parent term.
See, the new problem that gets presented by us changing it to tavern time is, what's the name of the tavern, bro?
I don't know. Oh man, that's a good question. A better question is, why am I always wearing slippers here?
Because it's so cozy.
These are the newest slippers available.
Because we don't own a house. This is where we live.
These slippers.
So we wear our pajamas here.
These slippers have wheels in them.
They do.
Yeah, they're slippers. They're advanced slippers.
They're advanced. They sound like roller skates.
They're the slippiest slippers.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Heelys. They're slipper Heelys.
Gotcha.
LL Beans.
I remember
slipper
Heelys.
You can keep. They're still here.
They're still
You don't
here.
have
They
to
never went
remember
anywhere.
them. You can get them today.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Tavern Talk. Hopefully you heard some tavern music. I'm going to try to get onto.
If you're watching the video, you definitely see a tavern image.
There you go. There was actually maybe I should find the user on Discord and credit them, but you can go into Discord and find that message where they were like, it should be Tavern Talk. You guys should do tavern music. I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. That was something that got pitched.
It was something that got pitched.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's all good ideas.
I'm going to find it right now. Hold
Okay.
on.
Sounds
Let me
good.
see.
Wait, but you're the guy that's supposed to read the Apple Podcast review.
I got that ready.
Okay.
Hold on. Give me a second.
Okay.
Damn it. I thought it was in the Patreon subreddit or Discord channel.
Here
it
it
is.
is in the Dungeoncast.
Loving the new tavern, guys. Okay, this is Lord Britannia. Loving the new tavern, guys. If I could be briefly a selfish and demanding fan, may I suggest a smidgen of ambience and light loot playing, maybe? Oh, wait, this isn't the Tavern Talk person, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Then you could read the emails and reviews as their patrons of the tavern or as you're reading off the scrolls.
Yeah, that's pretty much the idea here.
Yeah. And but they don't mention Tavern Talk, so maybe this wasn't the person.
Somebody might have said tavern. Somebody said tavern.
Someone
talk
said
along the
Tavern
way.
Talk somewhere at some point in time, and that's what we're calling it.
Credit to you, but credit to me first because I said it before you off mic.
Yes, it was
and
Brian's original idea.
yeah. So
All right, you want to hear some Apple Podcast review?
I want to hear our Apple Podcast review, please.
We got one since the last time we recorded.
Right.
This one's from Loki 101418.
Oh shit. That's a lot of universes deep. That's a weird Loki.
Best TTRPG show around. Woo. I started listening to this show in 2014 when my wife and I were dating and long distance. You guys were the soundtrack of my 3-hour ride. Now living with my wife and being a father, I continue to listen while I paint my minis and drive to work. Woo. Brian and Will are amazing. I love their banter and the show. Keep it up, guys. P.S. I also tell my friends that are new to DMing to check you guys out. Thank you so much, Loki 101418. That's very, very meaningful to us. It always blows my mind how long we've been doing the show, because this person went from not having a wife to now having a wife and kids.
Yeah, there are people that have graduated college with degrees.
Yeah. They started off as children. I'm like, oh God, we've been around for a while.
I fell off during my finals and my thesis, and then I was like, oh wait, I used to listen to this show, and now I do again. I'm so happy.
That's super cool. That's always super cool to hear. So thank you again. Love the review.
Stress changes people.
It does.
When you de-stress, though, come back. We're here.
So true.
Apparently, we'll still be here.
Apparently,
we're currently in the middle of transcending editions.
That's so true. I gotta look up Demogorgon's Island. So
Shout
you
out
go
to
ahead
Demogorgon.
and read the email that you're about to read while I figure out the Demogorgon Island that we live on.
Why can't I remember Demogorgon facts under pressure? I know.
Right?
The brine,
Seriously.
the brine something, the brine flats.
No,
The brine flats is the name of the sea,
Divine Realm.
but the
Gaping Maw.
island is the jungle. That's
The
like
palace is called Abysm.
abysm. The abysm schism.
The Abysm Schism. The Gaping Maw is the lair.
Yeah.
The Brine Flats is another name for the Gaping Maw.
Right.
I know there's an island, but I'm not finding the name of it.
It's a salty sea because Demogorgon is just pissing in the ocean there.
And the Gaping Maw is a vast continent covered in jungle and surrounded by an equally vast ocean. So no, it's a Gaping Maw.
We'll just call it that.
Yeah, we live in the Gaping Maw.
Well, the island, there's an island with like Balrogs and
the
stuff
Screaming
on it.
Jungle.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what I was thinking of.
Is that where we live? We live in the Screaming Jungle. No wonder no one talks to us. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Let's answer some emails.
There are Krakens
to the people who do talk to us.
There are Krakens in the Gaping Maw.
If you guys follow other content creators that you want us to collaborate with, reach out to those content creators. Believe me, I've tried. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're actually we need to do that. Our network is asking for a list of content creators we want to work with. So suggest that, audience, to us, and we will pass that on to someone who's probably better at it than we are.
Indeed.
Anyway, we've got emails. I believe we're starting from a place where we're not going to read doubles. So thanks.
Yeah, we're trying not to double dip.
Thank you to everybody. These are all from June onward. Early June 4th and on is where I'm reading emails from. We're not doing YouTube comments today. We're just doing that Apple Podcast review, and these emails that should take plenty of time. Hey Brian, this is from Alex Taylor. Thank you for emailing, Alex. Hey Brian and William, maybe shouting into the ether here. You're not. As I'm not sure the best way to contact you guys, it's anywhere. Or if you even commonly respond to fan questions, we do now. But I had a question directed for William and how he conducts his research. So I run a small D&D lore channel. That's really cool. So do we. I would say the format and presentation is much different than the Dungeoncast, but sometimes topics overlap. We're fine with that. I really just do it as a way to help myself learn that topic and dive into old books. I'm relatively new to D&D in the grand scope of things coming into it at 5e. That being said, I love the worlds and settings D&D has, but as a result, I don't have a ton of knowledge on older books, nor do I own any. I do have PDFs of all the old books, but it's just so much. It feels like I could always be missing something. I'm always impressed with William's research, as you have sources for each edition, which clearly goes beyond a Google search and the FR Greyhawk wiki. How do you generally prep for videos on topics that have so much lore, especially a daunting character like Elminster?
Yeah, there's a reason
those
we
are
haven't
hardcore.
There's a reason we haven't done an Elminster episode yet.
That has dozens and dozens of books and novels containing him. I love the channel and appreciate what you guys do. Thanks, Alex.
Okay. So many facets to this. I'm actually going to start in reverse because Elminster and novels. I tend to avoid completely the stuff that is super reliant on novels, because there's no way on earth that I am getting through these novels on top of all the other, like, you have to understand, like, I love D&D, I play D&D, I consume a lot of D&D for fun, but also D&D is my job, and I consume most of the D&D that I consume for a job, and I do have limited time windows week to week to get an episode prepared. So I don't have time between that and then my own personal media consumption to be reading these D&D novels. I just don't. There are some episodes like the Crenchinoban, which a lot of that came from novels.
The most delicious episode.
And I pushed that episode just because it was Year of the Artifact, and I had to do a lot of... I did not read any of the novels. I had to do a lot of cliff notes. I had to do a lot of reading of reviews, and I had to do a lot of like video synopsis. synopsi on the books that contain the artifact.
It's probably
to gain my knowledge for those specific episodes. Again, this is why I avoid episodes that require heavy knowledge of novels unless I have read those novels. Like Dragonlance, I'll do that all day. I read all those novels back in the day, and I have an encyclopedia like knowledge of the setting. But like we haven't done Elminster for that reason. We did Drizzt, and we had someone who read the novels come on to talk to us about Drizzt and tell us about Drizzt.
Yeah.
So that's kind of its own separate thing.
That was a real mixed bag of an episode for the audience.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I think they did a great job. So again, thanks for coming on and teaching us about Drizzt.
Ben, right?
No, it was not Ben. It was someone who came on the show once and never again. It was a long time ago. I don't necessarily remember
their name
the
was
name.
Ben.
Might have been
confused with
our Ben.
With our Ben, yeah.
Maybe it was. I'm sorry that I don't remember your name. It's been a long time.
It has. It's been several years.
Anyway, so that's its own separate thing. But when it comes to just basic D&D like research stuff that doesn't involve the novels, one of the first things I will do is I will discern where the subject has its biggest presence. Generally, that's going to be like 80% of the time it's going to be Forgotten Realms, and then like 15% of the time it's going to be Greyhawk, and then 5% of the time it's going to be somewhere else. And I love to use the Forgotten Realms wiki in particular to scroll down to the bottom and just check out the huge list of all the sources that the wiki gets its information from. Now, the wiki's cool, and I don't know if I've ever caught an instance of the wiki just ever being straight wrong, but the wiki's pages also tend to be very scant, and they're not great at the contextual stuff. So I might read them, but I'm not going to like directly use them for a Dungeoncast episode.
Yeah, it's highly condensed. I've also
highly condensed.
I've also researched a few episodes and found the wiki to be like
they're very useful.
People do very well at curating the Forgotten Realms wiki specifically.
It's definitely to be trusted as far as I'm
sure
concerned.
Diggy can speak more to that, but yes, it's a good source.
So that being said, then it comes to you need to get your hands on the PDFs, and there are a lot of legal ways to buy a lot of the old PDFs now, more so now than when I first started doing this.
There's also a lot of illegal ways to obtain them.
There are still a lot of books that you cannot buy, and for that, my biggest recommendation, especially when it comes to Dragon magazines or Dungeon magazines, is going to be the Internet Archive, which is a place where they archive a lot of not just D&D, but anything very, very old that is, to preserve it, is preserved on the Internet Archive. And so if I have to, I will go there. I'm not afraid to say that. And from there, I will just read through everything. And I know it seems like a lot, because it is. There is a lot. But once you narrow down your sources to anywhere from 5 to 11 key sources on the topic, you just read through it all. It's not too daunting. And then it comes to organizing the information of like, okay, well, if I'm presenting something and it has like 2 or 3 different origins or 2 or 3 different background stories that what's the word? They conflict with itself, whether that's because of an edition change or a setting difference, or because one writer just didn't know what some other writer 20 years before them wrote,
or did and
decided to. Yeah, exactly.
Happens.
All that happens all the time, and it's just a matter of like, okay, are these differences important enough to discern, or can I just kind of gloss over it, or do I make that decision? And maybe people won't 100% agree with me most of the time, but I think most of the time people don't have a problem with the way I present it. I try and streamline it in the most palatable way. And then when something needs to be like, okay, we need a separate section for this 4th edition version, or for this Greyhawk version, or for this edition change version, then I will take the time to do that. Otherwise, if it's something minor that like I don't think affects like the overall like your context and your ability to enjoy and understand this monster, I will generally gloss over it because it makes my job easier and I'm on a time limit.
Yeah, I think I get our biggest complaints we get about your presentation are from episodes that carry a character, that have specific information from novels, and then there's that one person in the comments that's like, well, in this novel, blah, 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 and that's totally different from...
And I do try and say, like, look, I haven't read the novel, but this is my understanding. Right. This is the best understanding as a non-novel reader I can give you.
Which is why we don't cover Elminster without like really, well, that's a big job for Will.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, we will one day, but honestly, with D&D, there's just this constant flow of stuff to cover. And there are going to be episodes that we just never get to, not because we don't want to or we don't mean to. It just doesn't happen because that's life. But anyways, that I hope answers your question. I think that covers it.
Yeah,
right?
you nailed it.
Yeah,
You nailed
okay.
it. I knew all that stuff already.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the audience gets to hear it. We have another email from Sean McDonald. Sup, guys. Sup, Sean.
What's up, Sean?
I just joined the Patreon about a month or two ago. I absolutely love the show. I'm not sure where to submit show ideas or if you even need them. And as Will said, we don't necessarily need them, but we want them.
I'll take them.
My idea is a series going over the most useful spells at each level for a class, which we've talked about that before.
We have talked about
Maybe
this.
do 2 classes, a show or something. Just an idea. I hope you guys keep doing everything perfectly just as you have been for all these years.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, we really appreciate you, Sean.
I don't know if we're going to do this exact idea, but I do think things like this idea are going to end up being covered in an idea that me and Brian we keep meaning to get to. This idea where we bring talking points to an episode and we just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things that are like kind of too ephemeral to get their own episode.
Yes.
But there's a lot of important stuff that we end up not really talking about on the show or getting their own episode that maybe could if presented in a certain way. And I think like this idea of like useful spells at particular levels or just particular spells in general could be, a talking point that is brought to one of these episodes.
I agree. That's Will and I have been pitching ideas for more discussion type episodes, and this was one that was on my mind. Like,
yes.
I can carry myself in a D&D conversation at most levels these days because of the show and how long we've been doing it and how much experience I now have playing D&D. So like doing let's talk about CR 1 through 5 monsters, which ones are our favorites and which ones are the best for mobs and why, and how do we play them, how do they run away, stuff like that can give people general ideas. Same thing with spells. Let's talk about our favorite level 1 spells. Like that could be a cool thing. We want to have guests on for that. So
yeah.
It's kind of a mountain of a task, even like scheduling wise, to get an episode like that when there's books coming out.
Yeah, that was the big hurdle. We actually had a bunch lined up for the schedule, and then Wizards decided they were going to do all these major reveals for their upcoming book, which, hindsight, we should have seen like a whole marketing campaign happening. But we don't know what it's going to be like. They're rolling it out in a way that's like generating conversation. Indeed. And the thing is, like, whether you are on board for 5.5 or not, like, this is our job, and this is like a major shift in the industry and in the game itself, and it's important that we cover this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people want to know as much as they can about it, and so I do feel it's our obligation to be there and supply that information.
It's a hot button topic. It's good it's good for the community to know what's going on in D&D space, and it's good for the show. It's good for visibility on the show. So that we made that decision to cover this stuff because we want to spread the word about the show and cover this. We're interested in it. It's cool stuff.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna be. We're gonna keep playing D&D, and this is what we might be playing in the future. And there's hard surface data here to cover. Yeah. But that's a great idea. We agree. It's been pitched behind the scenes before. And we really appreciate it. You can send emails, Discord. If you're on Patreon, send us a Patreon message. We see them. Thanks again, Sean. I got 3 emails from our boy Tim Hollister, who I don't personally know or anything, but you are part of the community. It appears you're emailing us. Hey guys, I'm really enjoying your banter back and forth about everything in D&D. I would consider tweeting or posting on SM, but I'm taking a social media sabbatical. Understandable.
That's where I live, bro. I live in the sabbatical.
I'm a fly on the social media wall, so I don't miss major stuff like Kraken Week. I'm also a broke bloke, so I can't donate anything. No problem. Thanks for being here. Yeah. I started at the beginning last week, and I'm on episode 35. That's as of June 10th. Wow. That's our early work.
It is our early work.
Having a job
our first album, if you will.
Our first album, season 1, where we're discovering how to shout out Demogorgon and what Demogorgon truly is. Having a job where I can listen to podcasts all day makes it quite easy. Anyways,
it does.
Keep in the good work
there as well.
Yes. A second email. Oh, also, y'all, we're talking about a halfling barbarian. We sure have talked about that. The +2 to Dex is definitely useful for their unarmored defense. I haven't played it, but I came up with an idea for Halfling Barbarian Path of the Giants. Bigby presents Glory of the Giants. That's the book. Thanks for sourcing that. With the background of Giant Foundling, a small halfling that turns large, huge when raging. That's a lot of fun. And then one final email on the 18th. Still loving the show. Appreciate the dynamic the two of you have. Always entertaining. On episode 82 now. Nice.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for the updates. Feel free to keep emailing. I'm looking for the emails to start getting a rhythm where people have contributions to the show, and maybe we get like a closer emailer, the one person that's always emailing.
Oh, yeah.
And like, okay, here's our closer.
Like who was the McElroy's one for like years and years and years?
They had the Drew Davenport.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, Drew Davenport was there.
Drew at level 25. Yeah. They've moved away from.
I know
from that stuff, but that was good. Well, there's a podcast I listen to where they have this guy from overseas that's their closer, and and then another podcast with the same host that's different. They've started to implement. They've seen the rhythm in their fan feedback portion on that side, and they are starting to get a rhythm where they know who their closer is.
Okay,
so
for sure.
Yeah, that's always fun. I want a closer. We're working towards it. First time writer, long time listener, James McKenzie. I'm Spuds McKenzie. Anyway, hey Will and Brian, just listen to your show about gargs or gargoyles. I'm ad-libbing. Just listened to your show about gargoyles and was intrigued by the comment on how bald men are not usually the hero. So I came up with a list of bald heroes for funsies. Oh, this is great. All right. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's recent live action characters. Fair.
I have quibbles when I see that. I nod my head to it. I respect it. We got The Rock Johnson. You're about to say Jason Statham and Vin Diesel. I have a quibble with action stars being heroes or protagonists. They're generally killing assholes, but anyways, I digress.
I mean, they are the protagonists.
Protagonists.
And also, Maui has a full head of hair.
Who?
Maui of
Oh,
Moana.
yes, he does.
Voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So there's some gray area here.
Also, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson isn't bald in real life. He does shave it sometimes.
Okay. I think we're splitting hairs on that. But
Jason Statham and Vin Diesel are bald, yes.
Jason Statham characters, Vin Diesel characters, parentheses, I swear there's more than just Fast and the Furious cast members on this list.
Good, because I hate those movies.
Okay. Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta. I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit on that one.
Yeah. Also, she was forcibly shaven.
Exactly. And she doesn't go full bald. It's just short.
Yes. And also, I do love V for Vendetta, though.
But this next one fucking kills it. Charles Xavier.
All right, we got one on the board.
That one is a full legitimate.
Absolutely.
Krillin or Kuririn?
Yes, Krillin is a hero as far as I'm concerned. Tien
is a bad guy.
Yeah, Tien is a bad guy.
Tien is a bad guy that turns good.
Yes, and honestly, he's not that useful. Moving on.
Krillin is just a rival who seems like a bad guy.
The Ninja Turtles don't count. They're turtles. They can't have hair.
And therefore are bald. I think it counts. I'm going to count it.
Okay.
Captain Picard.
Yes.
Solid choice.
Absolutely.
That's not undisputable.
I noticed
all the droids.
That's a bullshit. Fuck that. I hate this. I hate this list.
R2D2 is the baldest hero.
Nick Fury. I love Nick Fury.
Fury is good.
A hero.
He is not a hero.
Not.
He's an anti-hero at best.
Yes, I do love me some Nick Fury.
He's an asshole.
The Watcher is also not a hero. He specifically is a watcher. He watches.
I think maybe if James had said, so I came up with a list of bald heroes and more people that are not people that are not villains. Non-villain bald
That's
people.
True.
You have a list of non-villain bald people here that includes heroes.
Some.
A couple of heroes. Yeah. By our metrics.
Indeed.
We're here to judge you if you email us.
Sorry. I do love the email.
This is a great email. I think it's a great email. I'm having a wonderful time partitioning what Will's doing, how Will's reacting to your list. I think this is fantastic. And a D&D one, Minsk.
Yeah, Minsk is bald, yes, and he's cool, and he is a hero, so good job.
Should I say Minks to piss everybody off, like Dritz?
Absolutely.
There's lots. I'm sure you're missing some, James, but great.
There's One Punch Man. That's the
One Punch Man.
That's the one
yeah.
that pops in me. Also, if we're going with Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo is also bald.
Piccolo is also bald. But by your logic, he can't grow hair and is.
Yeah, no, I don't think it counts. But he also has like the classic bald head. Well, the turtles don't. They have turtle heads.
They have turtle heads. Yeah.
And Piccolo is top 3 DBZ character.
Chaozu.
For sure. Do not mention Chaozu. We do not claim him.
Oh, okay.
I hate Chaozu.
I think Chaozu might be culturally insensitive.
Yeah, probably.
Like Mr. Popo's bald, but you can't talk about Mr. Popo anymore. They've basically animated him out of the show.
Except for DBZ Abridged, where he's incredible.
Yeah, but like DBZ Bridge is not trying to be PC.
No, not at all.
That show is sus.
He's also like an elder god from beyond time and space in DBZ Abridged. It's fantastic.
Yes, it's a very fun character in DBZ Abridged, but the animation is racist.
Absolutely.
So, okay, our final email comes from Don Eccles. Obscure pop culture reference fail. This is a piggyback off an old email, I think.
Okay. This is the Ben Grimm guy, right?
I think so.
Okay, gotcha.
So he says, so the legacy continues. My fault. I was hoping to set William up for a deep cut into Marvel lore with my question on the Yancey Bin video. So this might be a YouTube comment that turned into an email. I'm pretty sure.
That's exactly it.
Perhaps give him another chance. If you're reading this during a future recording, ask him where Ben Grimm is from. Okay, hang on. Let me pause there. Will, where's Ben Grimm from?
I don't know where he was born, but the Fantastic Four, they have the tower in New York City, so there's that.
See, okay. If he says New York City, give him props, but ask him what part. Hey, Will, what part of New York City is Ben Grimm from?
I don't fucking know.
If he says Manhattan's Lower East Side, be impressed. Well, I'm not. Then ask him what street. Well, what street is
I'm
Ben Grimm?
guessing Yancey Street because of the email.
It's mentioned here and there over the decades, having been a big part of his smack talk more in the earlier years. But Ben Grimm grew up on Yancey Street. Yancey, Ben, I know that's pretty derivative. Big fan of your show.
Thanks.
It has greatly contributed to the game IDM.
Well, that's good.
I'm glad to hear that. Having used many of your episodes as resources in weaving together our ongoing story, particularly those on various kids of dragons in their characterization. That's a smart way to do it. As well as help me be a better player in my regular game of dads and one mom in our mid-40s that weren't allowed to play when we were kids due to the satanic panic. Keep it up. You're doing Bahamut's work.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Don. That was a great email. This is what we're looking for with emails.
Yeah.
Say whatever you want. We'll probably remember if it's a recent episode. If it's a really old episode that you're referencing, try to bring a little bit of context because we don't like go back and listen to our own show a whole lot.
No.
We do occasionally.
I hardly even do that these days.
Yeah, it doesn't really like we're just a podcasting train.
Yeah, we're
YouTube
chugging
train
ahead.
that just keeps on driving and sort of remembers the stuff from before. So, if you want to reference really old stuff and you want us to kind of quip about it with you, some context might be good. Like a halfling barbarian is a good, like I remember talking about halfling barbarians. So it's not a hard thing to remember, but if you're and talking about the Yancey Bin stuff, that was pretty recent.
It was very
So
recent.
just some guidance to you as our email portion of the show is a little bit newer. So yeah, thank you guys so much for your emails. That was great and wonderful, and I love interacting with you guys. We might do something on Discord where I ping the chat to say like, hey, Will and I are recording today. If you have any questions about recent episodes or anything that you'd like to tell us, we curate that stuff a little bit. I didn't have the need to curate any email stuff today. Everything was of a length that I could read in a timely manner, and there wasn't subject matter that I felt like I needed to redact. Same thing's going to apply to Discord, so that might be something we get ahead of. Basically, just watch out for like a Friday, Saturday ping in there that's like, hey, we're going to be recording between this hour and this hour on this day. If you have any questions you'd like to make it into one of these episode recordings, feel free to ask it here. We'll do our best to address as much of it as we feel we can or is relevant. If we have to redact, so be it. Just be aware that like not everything might make it in. Indeed. And that's pretty much what we have for the episode for you today. So thank you all for joining us. You can find us on I'm about to say all this stuff in a pre-recorded message, so I guess we'll talk to you guys later.
We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the long rest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Long Rest. This is the part of the show where we tell you about all the stuff that's going on with the Dungeoncast. One of those things, Starseeker's Guide to Drakenstar is on its way ish. Yeah.
Yep, working on the last chapter. Lots of monsters. So many monsters.
Thank you to everybody who has supported that project. Will's been working his buttocks off getting a very cool book written, and we're all really proud of him. So thanks, Will, for doing that.
I appreciate it.
Like we said, we're going to be making some adjustments to how the show is formatted. You've heard a couple of them in these recent episodes and upcoming episodes, so keep an eye out for that. We did want to tell you about our new merch shop. So thank you, Dustin, for doing so much cool work in the merch shop.
Yes, there's now a growing collection of super freaking sick designs. I've been wearing one all episode, and you'll see it again in the next episode. But the Ooze Roomba shirt. But I believe there's an Asmodeus design in the works. There's a couple awesome Demogorgon designs on there. There's Bahamut's design, Bahamut's Gym. There's all kinds of cool stuff on there. So if you guys are fans of the show and want to get really badass looking merch that reps the show and also support an artist who's a big fan of the show and does some awesome work, go check out the link in the description, Baba Yaga's Yard Sale. It's where you will find all your new awesome Dungeoncast merch.
Yeah, we if you want to interact with the show in our tavern talk section, you can do so by emailing us at thedungeoncast@gmail.com. You can also send hard mail into I believe it's 1784 PO Box 1784, Upland, California 91785. But that address is below in case I messed it up. So check that out in the description. You can send us mail and we'll read it on the show. You can also leave YouTube comments, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. That really helps us out a lot. And we do read YouTube comments on the show. We kind of pick and choose which episodes we want to go by, but we usually just read everything that's there. We don't really curate too much unless it's like too crazy. And then we also have other ways for you to interact with us on social media. Will, can you speak on that?
Yeah, in the description you'll find links to our Twitter, to our Instagram, to our Discord, and to our Mastodon and our Threads account.
Yeah, I saw some disparaging stuff about Instagram using artists' posts to curate their AI-generated art.
Oh, boy.
And so I see a lot of artists leaving Instagram right now, and I do not blame you. So,
no, I honestly, I'm learning about this right now.
Yeah, that's been an unfortunate thing that happened. I'm on Instagram a lot. You can follow me, Sound Good Inc. If you want to come chat with me. I'm posting stuff about like my turtle or like whatever, dude. I'm not like doing a ton of D&D stuff there, but some of you guys send me funny D&D memes, and I think that's pretty cool. So feel free to continue to do that and come interact with me there. You can also find us on Discord. That's a great place to come talk and chat with us.
That's like the only social media I actually personally partake in.
Yeah, Discord is great for a lot of things. If you're in the Dungeoncast Discord and you want to ask us something in real time, we'll probably answer. I usually try to get in there and if it's in that particular thread, but there's lots of stuff to do there. We have a really awesome team that admins and moderates that stuff for us. So thank you guys very much for doing that. Also, thank you to our team that helps us do cool stuff in the background. Just want to take a second to shout out to you. And then I think, is there anything else that we want to talk about in terms of show?
I think that's pretty much it. I mean,
patreon.com/Dungeoncast. You can go support us there. You can find Alien and Beer content, early episodes, show notes.
Eventually, there will be early access to our awesome
Unhallowed.
in the works horror RPG campaign, Unhallowed.
Yeah, it's been. It's taking a long time to produce it.
Some people have had kids in the works. We had to do a couple revamps. Someone had to walk away. It's been through the ringer, but it's come out great so far. So we're going to finish recording this series this summer and start on post-production this summer. Yeah. And hopefully have it out by the end of this year, early next year.
Yeah, we're going to figure out some way to get you guys Unhallowed content ASAP. I was pitching to Will, maybe we can do raw session updates for certain tiers. We'll see. We don't know. It's in the works, but the idea is that we want a really cool polished product to have in our Patreon for you guys. So it's taken a long time, but we're working on it, and we're gonna have it as soon as we can. So thank you guys. We also wanted to start using our platform to advocate for causes that we think are worthy in Will and I's eyes. So if you guys can, There's a link below where you can donate to the PCRF. That's the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. They provide free medical care to thousands of injured and ill children yearly who lack local access to care within the local healthcare system. We'd really appreciate it if you could consider going to donate to that. And then other than that, I think we have nothing else to give. We're done.
I think that's it.
I think we'll call it a game.
Let's call it a game. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.